This game made me reevaluate my relationship with like retro gaming. 'Cause, like, even knowing, even
This is the Imperial Scrolls of Honor podcast. I'm Josh Folan.
and I am Jay Baxtron.
And we're going to be bullshit about the formative years of console gaming as we revisit the periodicals that covered it again. Today we are salivating over Jay's Dairy Queen ice cream birthday cake and enviously watching him tear open a brand new copy of Sunsoft's 1990 release of Batman the video game for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Happy fucking birthday, Jay. Emulation disclosure, dabbled a little bit with my XD Android handheld on some flights for practice to Boston to watch Josh Allen destroy the cheating Patriots and to Austin for work. But for the most part, I played via emulation on my PC, Nestopia with my USB standard NES controller. Jay, how did you play?
Exact same way. NES Topia with the standard USB NES controller.
Word. Please rate and review the podcast. It makes us feel really, really good. And what are we jamming on now? Jay, what are you jamming on now?
So many things, but it all starts with Halo. I mean, still Halo Infinite. It's amazing to me how much time I have put into this game. Like, I don't know where I can find like an hour account, but I kind of want to know at this point. Like, I'm afraid to know.
What do you mean? Don't they all say that? What do you mean? They all have that.
I don't know. Well, not the combination between like, hey, you've played this many multiplayer hours and you played this many campaign hours.
Just when the app's running, isn't there? Can't you go to? I'm almost certain, dude. You can go to the dashboard, and
I'm sure I can find it somewhere. Yeah. It's not readily there, but I'm sure I can find it. Yeah. But I'm afraid to know. I have played so much, so I've made it to the rank of platinum in multiplayer. So I'm pretty excited about that. And just
congratulations, Jay.
I thank you very much. The amount of time that I've spent in multiplayer on that game is just shocking to me. And like, it's exciting because, you know, it's not just the multiplayer, because I played Halo 5 multiplayer all the time, but it's the ranked arena. So like being in that ranked arena, giving me that competition fix. Not only is it fun, not only is it exciting, you know, to get that fix in, but then when I translate it back to like the big team battle, you know, with 24 players or, you know, something that's much more casual that's not ranked, I'm able to freaking smoke people, man. So it's like a blast. It like is making me better, giving me that fix. And then when I go back to other modes, like I'm winning or like leading the team most often. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Outside of that, man, the campaign, still fantastic. I'd say I'm pretty deep in the campaign as well. And so it's like when I just get pissed off in multiplayer and I'm losing a lot, then I'll switch over to the campaign and obviously I can kick ass there. So it's so good, man. The graphics are so good. The story is so good. Like the open world aspects, like how are you going to do Halo open world? But it's just open enough that you have your big vehicles, your freaking Scorpion tanks or your Warthogs, like get from place to place and blast people along the way. It's really fun. I'm surprised that I'm this sucked into it, man. I would almost imagine maybe 100 hours at this point, which is freaking nuts to me.
Since when?
Since late November. Okay, it's a lot of freaking time, but it's not stopping anytime soon. That's the main point. Right. So, yeah, in addition to that, man, I'm actually playing a lot of Injustice 2. Have you ever played or heard of this? All right, let me educate you.
Sorry, that's no. That's bad podcasting to just shake your head. No.
Yeah, that was a definite head shake. Yeah, so Injustice 2 is based on a DC, like, alternate universe one-shot storyline where the Joker essentially tricks Superman into thinking he's fighting Doomsday, and he instead kills Lois Lane, his wife, who is also pregnant with his unborn child. Superman snaps and kills the Joker. And because of that, he's just like, he's mad at Batman. He's like, how many times have you caught this dude and let him go free? He's like, I'm done messing around. And basically Superman just becomes the world's dictator. He's just like, you're going to do things my way. I'm going to make sure peace happens. You get on board, or I'm done playing nice. And so like a lot of superheroes are like, yeah, fuck that. Yeah, that's right. And then obviously Batman and other people are like, wait, hold on, Superman. No, you can't do that.
Wait,
and
you've gleaned this full storyline from the video game?
No. I've read the comic.
Okay,
I've read the one-shot comic. Because
that was super important information. Because I was like, how the fuck does he have this level of fucking understanding of? Okay.
Yeah. No, because when I heard of the game coming out, I was like, and I just read up on it, and so I read the comic as a result. And so that's the world you're in. And so because of that, the game itself is predicated on all these superhero, like whether you're a superhero, quote unquote, or a villain, it doesn't, like the lines are all blurred anymore. It's like, do you support Superman or do you not? And so it's essentially a fighting game. But it's so much fun because you have all these characters, they're powerful, Superman's evil. And for me, the reason I started playing it again, because I used to play this a while ago when it first came out. This has definitely been around for a few years. But, of course, they had an Ultimate Pack on sale for like $6. So I got, not just skins for people, but like alternate versions. So not just the Hal Jordan Green Lantern. I got like the John Stewart Green Lantern. Instead of just like the main Supergirl, you got like Power Girl. So that it just basically added a bunch more characters. Strangely enough, there's more combat characters in there. You got Raiden, you got Sub-Zero, you got Ninja Turtles in there. So it's just kind of a fun fighting game with a great story behind it. And so I've been playing that as well a ton.
So actually, like 2-on-2 single screen fighting, you mean?
Oh yeah, it's like
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, definite fighting game. So I realized my gaming collection is all about the genres. Like I gotta have my basketball game. I gotta have my my first-person shooter game. I gotta have my RPG game, and I needed a fighter because I've been playing, like, of course, Mortal Kombat 11. I still think that game is fun, but I can't just play that during the day when the kids are around. I can't just chop off heads and stuff. So, I needed something still fun but less gory, and so this just kind of hit. I found this at just the right time.
Oh, they're gonna have to learn about heads chopping off someday, Jay.
I mean, true, but maybe not a 3. Maybe 7, 8, 9. Maybe 10. I don't know, but not 3. But yeah, man. Other than that, I've actually been playing this game called Dauntless again. It's like, this is something I've talked about before. Like I played it a while ago. It's like a free-to-play Monster Hunter. It's Epic's version, so you think Fortnite meets Monster Hunter. But it's been around for a couple years as well. But they've made a ton of changes, revamped like the system, where you can level up your characters and get different weapons, and so you're hunting these beasts. And I had actually lost interest in it a while ago before they made these changes, but somehow my daughter just kept interested in it, and so she's been wanting to play it with me, and so I jumped back into it. And with all these changes, it's actually way more fun than it used to be. So I'm playing that a ton as well. And then of course my NBA 2K22 on the side whenever I feel like. So a lot of gaming.
Word.
Good stuff.
Okay.
What about you, Josh?
No mention of Oculus in there at all. None.
No mention of Oculus. Only, it's funny, except for our awesome playthrough yesterday. Like, that actually made me miss. I was like, man, it's been too long since I played this. I need to play more Demio. That game's bomb. But it's been hard. Like, with all these games that have come out that I've, like, sucked into, it's hard to, like, put that on and block out the rest of the world. I'm basically telling the kids and stuff like, yep, you can't watch me. I'm not here. So it's kind of just hard for me to do that when they're all awake. You know what I mean?
I'd probably just have to get rid of the family is what I would do if I had to make a choice. Word. Okay. Well, I am still technically not done with Resident Evil on my Oculus. Resident Evil 4. The fucking game, it never ends, dude. Like,
you were talking about this last time, I feel.
Yeah, I know. Like, I mean that I think in the best possible way for the most part. But like, yeah, I guess, like, I mean, I think I mentioned last time, like, that's got to be the end that I'm, working my way through right now. And then, nope, whole new fucking thing, a whole new area will open up, whole new fucking plot points presented. I've Googled it now, so I know I'm at the end. I'm at this Wave Runner action sequence that I cannot fucking beat for the life of me. And, based on my frustrated Googling, like, it's definitely the end of the game. But yeah, it's like, you gotta like, it's like after the final boss battle, which was pretty cool, but a little bit confusing, to be honest with you. But it was still, it was a cool battle. But yeah, beat that, and then it's one of those like Metroid, get the fuck out of the base endings. You know, you got XYZ number of time to get out before something blows up. So you're like running out of the fucking thing, and yeah, it's a jet ski sequence, which is kind of comes out of nowhere. Like there's no other. You don't have to do any. I mean, you do. Check, that's a lie. There is a boating sequence, and it's a very like you're at this like remote lake kind of environment. So it's not totally. I shouldn't say that, but anyways, yeah, the controls of it are a little fucking weird, and like I don't know. It just I can't fucking beat it. It's frustrating, and it's not fun enough. Like, you know, like I've had probably a half dozen times where I've picked it up, gave that a try a bunch of times, and been like, this is just pissing me off. And like, it's so because I know it's the end, and it's not fun, and it's not going to add to this. I'm certain it's not going to add to the story. I'm certain that the story isn't even worth caring about. Like, I mean, I've already said that a million times. The story's terrible for the most part, you know. So like, I'm almost tempted, even though it's this game I've enjoyed so much throughout, to just be like, I don't even need to do that. Like it's like it's like a meaningless beat to the game. Like I've enjoyed the game already. I've done the game. I even like, and that it's one thing to just say that and be like, oh, that just sucks. I don't want to do anymore. But I also feel complete. Like I don't feel like normally, you know how I am. I'm a fucking weirdo. I'm a completionist.
Yeah, I'm surprised to hear this.
Right? Completely. Yeah, but like I don't even feel emotionally attached to the idea of finishing it, which is very weird to me. But yeah, I'm thinking about just. I definitely haven't played it since I got back from Austin. Like I think the last time I tried it was in Austin. And I was like, this fucking sucks. Just put it down, and fucking 2 weeks now have gone by, and I've just been playing other shit. I haven't even thought about picking it up, It's not any fun. So there's that. I downloaded a very simple puzzle game called Cubism off a recommendation from the Rough Talk VR pod dudes. And you want something, actually, this is a good recommendation for you, I think, especially with the way that you want to engage. Like you were just describing, you need to because you have to partition yourself from the outside world, and the kids can't watch, yada, yada, yada. Like this, although you could, it's a fucking puzzle game, so you could cast, like I said, you can just cast your thing onto a screen and let them watch, dude, which I think it probably probably would be interesting for some of the games that you're not worried about the content of. I think they probably, if they care enough to be asking you about it, I think they would watch it,
right?
Because it's interesting. But anyways, it's like this incredibly zen 3D block puzzle game. So you have it was 20% off. The reason I bought it was 20% off the holidays. I'd heard the recommendation, so $9.99 full price. I got it for $8. So. Even at $10 though, it's clearly well worth it. Anyways, you get an assortment of geometric 3D shapes, and they're like Tetris-y kind of things, 3D Tetris-y, tetranomes or whatever the hell they're called. And there's a shape in front of you, like an outline of a shape in this box that you can turn. That's also transparent, and the shape inside is this limiting design that you have to fit the blocks into. So it's like a 3D Tetris, essentially, puzzle based, and it all happens in this very, very clean white space with this very, very zen music going on with it. It's just like it's remarkably calming. Like if you needed to like decompress, it's a fantastic thing to probably do before bed. Outside, the mental challenge of a thing, of course, is not like turn your brain off and go to whatever. But it is, as far as just like the calming aspect of the environment and the playscape, like it's fucking, It's incredible. It's really, really good. So, yeah, great game. Cubism, it's called. Yeah,
Cubism. Okay.
And yeah, I mean, it's fucking. They have it's a ton of content. There's, a million fucking levels, and each one's kind of themed a little bit. They have like a certain type of. There's 6 of them divided up into each group, and each group has its own like kind of like, as much as you could theme a bunch of fucking geometric shapes, So there's like it's yeah, I mean, it's definitely challenging. Some of them are hard as fuck, and like it's it's like when you have a block sticking outside, or a part of what a shape sticking outside of the space, because of the way it is, you're not even gonna necessarily know all the time, because you're like sticking things in and you can't see the back side of it. You can turn it and look, obviously, but like you think you have it under, you think you're doing the right thing, and it does this little like pinging beep thing, I don't know, it's just like even that aspect of it is this calming, just like a, hey buddy, just so you know, like This, it's like I don't even like the fail is like this like supportive, calming fucking presentation. I don't know. It's just a really well done game for a puzzle game. I think, as opposed to I don't know. Like I guess I'm somewhat comparing it to Tetris. Tetris is like a goddamn.
Tetris is not calming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Tetris is like a goddamn epileptic fucking seizure. Especially the 3D one on the Oculus. So fuck, it's like the polar opposite of that, but the same kind of mental gymnastics.
That's funny you mentioned that because I've multiple times put on Tetris 99 or Tetris Effect Connected, and I've been like, all right, it's going to be calm, and I'm just like.
Fuck no,
not calm at all. I need to do something
stressful.
else.
When that shit speeds up, it's like I'm like, fuck you. Like, what kind of fucking? It's fucking ridiculous. So yeah, I've been playing that. Of course, been playing the shit out of Demio, Walkabout Mini Golf 2. Duh. Demio with the new leveling. It's cool with the new leveling. It changed they changed it so now it's instead of you essentially get if you play a whole campaign. One of the 3-level dungeons, you essentially get 1,000 experience for doing that. And the way the leveling structure used to work, and again, I mean I've said it a bunch of times, but the leveling is all cosmetic. It's meaningless, relatively speaking.
Like levels meant nothing to me.
Right. But you get high, and there is cool shit, and you do want it. There's it does have that fucking loot crate effect on you, but it used to be 1,000 you got for each campaign, and each level was 1,000, which I thought was. Even when I first got the game, I'm like, that's kind of fuck. I mean, early on, sure, but the fact that it doesn't scale at all over the course of 45 levels was the original leveling system. Like, that's fucking stupid. I thought that, right from the jump, and so they switched it now where it's 3,000 to each one. So you have to beat multiple camp. Like once you hit 45, I mean, it's 1,000 per level, 245, and then 45 and beyond, and I think it's going up to like 60 something now maybe or something like that, but it's 3,000 to each next level, which I still think it's kind of like very basic bitch of them for it, again not to scale at all. It's like 3,000 even for each one. It's I don't know, to me it's just like I don't know, I've been playing RPGs my whole life. It always scales. Like you're fucking with the system, it always scales over the course of it. It should get harder as you get better, even though like you can't like there's also the counter argument to that is most RPGs it scales because the things you encounter give you more experience, so it's like that scales too. So sure, whatever, but in any event, it's the levels from 45 and beyond are one, harder to achieve, and B, like the things you're getting are like I've been playing for so long, and even those first 45 level cosmetic enhancements are just like I don't know, like now you can get there was one glove upgrade, but now there's a bunch of glove upgrades, and like I mean I see guys in like Star Trek fucking visors, not like Star Trek. What's the guy's name with the thing?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I don't know. I know what it's called. Star Trek Visor. I mean,
right. So yeah, I've seen guys in those, and like I saw a guy with fucking skeleton hands for gloves, and like there's like they upped the game for sure, and spent a little more time on the designs for these new things. So that's like an incentivizing thing to play, and the game is still just fun and great though. Although I feel like I still think like they've like I played last night in even that first dungeon, when we were playing, I mean, it was me, Amy, and then two, I think they were both relatively new players, relative to those people who, like, are on level fucking 60 and know everything. I mean, when I say that, but, not noobs, but, didn't know everything. So that's part of it, but we get our fucking ass kicked at times, even like, and that's like traditionally that first dungeon, that Black Sarcophagus dungeon is like just cake, It's
easy,
like,
yeah.
It shouldn't have any challenge at all, really. And even that last night, it was like there was like on the first level there was like waves of those fucking goblins and the goblin chieftains, just like waves of them coming from like multiple directions when we're trying to clear the second half of the board out, and like that of course means nothing to you if you haven't played, but those enemies suck, and to have a lot of them on the first level of the fucking that dungeon was like, that's a little weird.
Up to difficulty maybe.
Right.
Maybe people are like bitching like, hey, it's too easy.
Right.
Like, all right.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. I mean, I already said like the Rat King's been hard as fuck for a while now relative to when I first got it. So, and ROE is always pretty hard. I think the new one, Roots of Evil. So very good. Still playing the shit of it. That's not going to stop anytime soon. The last thing I would say is I got and like like, so when I finished Resident Evil, and like I literally spent, a half hour probably just going through the store and like trying to find there was that Arcaxer game I think I might have mentioned, the Rough Talk guys had recommended an App Lab thing, and I even downloaded it was pretty cool of them to have this and smart on their behalf, but they had like a demo, like a physical interactive demo that you could download, which most games don't have that. You just buy it fucking, off recommendations and videos and shit. So it was cool they could do that and actually play it. So I was playing that and like, I guess maybe the demo's not as polished as the regular game, and that's a possibility. But like I encountered some weird shit that was like a little, like a turn off functionally, while playing it. And that being an App Lab game, coupled with like a little bit of a bad play experience, I was like, that's not a good sign, So I ended up passing on that, even though I was thinking that was my next thing. So I was looking through the store trying to find shit, and I just looked at the name. It's got such a wacky name that I freaking forgot it again. Waltz of the Wizard was one I saw, and Waltz of the Wizard Natural Magic, and it looks like it's a first person deal. You can see your hands, but it's got like you're a wizard of some kind, and it's got like you have to like there's like functional aspects that you have to carry out to cast the spells with your hands, which is cool. It's a really it's a really interesting thing. And like you look at the video and you're just like parsing like individual little things that they want to show you, like little nuggets that they think are interesting looking and whatever, somehow embrace the VR upside of video games, so you always gotta take a little bit of a grain of salt. But like, I saw him like he's like playing a xylophone and like doing fucking shit with his hands, and like it's making things happen, So it's like there's it looks pretty fucking cool. It's rated pretty highly. The reviews were cool, but I ended up not biting on it. And then we were playing that game last night of Demio, and one of the guy, funny enough, playing the wizard, was just like randomly brought that game up. I'm like, I just listened to the fucking trailer of that, and he was like talking. He was like, it's so fucking good, yada yada yada. So I think that is the next thing for sure, because that's just too good of happenstance, to overlook.
Check that sounds like my type of game too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I'm pretty sure it was. I mean, it wasn't like a $40 deal or anything. I think it was pretty in the teens maybe cost wise. So it wasn't too bad. So yeah, I think that's the next thing. So we played Batman on the NES. I guess let's talk a little bit about that.
The stage 1 theme bringing us in, and does this game have tracks or does it not have tracks? I mean,
oh my god, dude! Yeah, I told you when I was fucking doing the prep stuff and like trying to find my own track for just the notes and stuff. I was like, I was listening to the soundtrack and I was like, I'm just downloading all these. There's no reason not to download all these. Like we're gonna use all these in the edit. There's no chance of any of them not making the cut. So it doesn't really matter what I choose. Anyhow, the synopsis for this game, it is labeled Game Story in the manual, and that's unique wording I kind of liked. It goes like this. The citizens of Gotham City are busy planning the city's 200th anniversary festival, but there is not much to celebrate. Crime and violence rule the city. The only man who can free the city from Joker's evil clutches is the one and only Batman. With your help, the Caped Crusader can defeat the Joker and save the good people of Gotham City. Batman is armed with special weapons and acrobatic strength. He must destroy 15 different types of enemies and 5 bosses while traveling through 5 stages. Finally, Batman comes face to face with the Joker, but who will prevail? It's up to you, Jay. We should talk probably briefly about the film, I think, which I actually watched for the first time in years in its entirety anyhow, in preparation for this. When was the last time you watched Batman?
Dude, this one, it's been years. I think I watched it like right when the what's his name, not the recent Batman, but the what's the previous Batman name, Dark Knight Batman, all of that, when that came out, Christian Bale. So when Christian Bale came out, I think I rewatched this original one just in preparation,
just to get in the headspace,
yeah. Just for comparison, like, cool, let me go back to the ones I remember growing up.
Sure. It's pretty good, man. Like it's a little stiff, the acting, but that's a common problem of the time, late 80s. Everything's kind of like the filmmaking apparatus in a technical capacity was still so archaic and cumbersome that it just slowed everything down. The acting, the cinematography, the pacing, like everything is just kind of like it often feels like a stage play happening in front of a camera on a tripod. You know, that's just like a problem with films prior to the digital age, because cameras could get more mobile and therefore everything could kind of have a little more life and a little more movement to it. You know, so that's my own cinema critique, an era cinema critique that maybe not everyone shares. Anyways, Nicholson and Keaton are so fucking good that they transcend those technical problems and are just riveting to watch, though. You know, which it's fucking, they're just such fucking fantastic actors. And Nicholson just did he's so fucking unreal, man. He's such a you know, I don't know. He's been doing this shit for so long now, and like it blows my mind how some human beings are just fucking, like, you just cannot not fucking watch them. You know, you can like, when they are just doing anything, it doesn't matter. You can watch them take a shit and you be like, what's this motherfucker gonna do next? Like, and he is just I don't know, man. His Joker is the embodiment of that. And, I mean, Heath Ledger's Joker was also the same thing, but in a different way, you know. And Nicholson's Joker is like throughout the whole thing is like, Tim Burton did a great job of, like, you know, he was putting a comic book on screen, you know. So like, Nicholson's Joker it's a comic book character, you know. He is a live action version of a comic book character. Heath Ledger's Joker is like an insane son of a bitch. That whole, you know, that's the Christopher Nolan Batman's period, where like he tried to put that in a real believable world. You know, nothing about Tim Burton's Batman is believable at all, and they're not even trying to. They're making a comic book in live action form, you know, and those are completely two different stylistic things, of course. But Nicholson's nailing of that, of like, even though it's not supposed to be believable, is like, that motherfucker could, like, that's real. Like, that motherfucker is not acting. Like, he's fucking being a real thing in that crazy ass fucking unreal place. You know, he's just, I don't know, he's just so fucking good and does such a good job, man. There's the scene where he fries the guy with a hand buzzer, you know?
Oh,
and like the board meeting of the mob bosses or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, there's, you know, and this is me being able to see the fucking, again, like, in the filmmaking apparatus and knowing how that went. But like, they hold on, like, and that's a director decision, cinematographer decision too, but they hold on the fried guy at the end of the scene, you know. They don't, and Nicholson walks off, but they don't hold, like, so we visually stay on the fried corpse, but Nicholson keeps acting all the way off camera, and they hold on, you know, they're holding on this thing for so long that, you know, there's just no way it was scripted. He's just like riffing shit as he walks off set, basically, you know, and just riffing stuff into his fucking mic as he's walking off. And you know, maybe it might not even have been all from the same take. They could have edited. Clearly, that allows you the freedom to edit whatever you want in there audio wise from whenever he said it. But he's just, you know, either way, you know, clearly it's not like, it's just him just being Joker in like his own improv way, you know, and it's hysterical. Like, the shit he's just fucking saying as he walks away is hysterical, you know. He's just so fucking good, man.
There was never any question about whether or not he was the Joker. You know what I mean? Like, whereas later Batman and stuff, like, how did this person portray it? Like, oh, what do you think about this person's acting job? But it was like, nah, that was the Joker and the Batman. That's you know what I mean?
Yeah. So watching that, man, my biggest fucking takeaway, and you haven't seen it recently enough where this is probably not going to land. You have to watch it, and like, watch it maybe even with this in mind. But my biggest takeaway was how absolutely fucking ridiculous it is that when Vicky Vale is saved from the art gallery by Batman, so it's essentially the first time she meets Batman. So he takes her from there back to the Batcave via this long Batmobile drive out in the middle of nowhere, right? So they sit in quiet. Like, there's a scene where they're just sitting, you know, it's like meant to be like this like awkward moment where they're in the car together quietly, you know, just driving for God knows how long. And we only see, of course, you know, 10 seconds of it. But the insinuation is they've been riding in this car together for this long drive for however long. And they're like a foot apart that whole time. And she isn't able to make the connection that it's the millionaire she just spent all night with. She slept with him. She went on a date with him and hung out in that kitchen with him for all night long. She met him in the art at the party before that. And all that happened within like the last 48 hours, at least by my measure of the storytelling here. And like his voice isn't any different, and his eyes and entire mouth and jaw are visible, and it's just like, fucking come on, man. Like there's just no fucking way that she wouldn't be able to tell it's the same person. There's just
like you would at least question, be looking at his face like
yeah, like goddamn, yeah. Yeah, it's just and again, it's not even just some random asshole. It's the fucking millionaire playboy of the entire town. Like I don't know. It's just fucking. I was sitting there watching that scene, like, oh man, I don't know how. Like, again, it's just a comic book movie, but like, fuck yeah, as a director, like a really really accomplished director who like cares about everything about his craft, like you have to imagine Tim Burton is. He had to look at that scene and just be like, oh god, it's so unbelievable.
Just suspend your disbelief and move on.
Right, yeah. Oh god. But generally speaking, pretty fucking good. So back to the game. The release happened on February 13th, 1990, and there wasn't not a shit ton happening of real importance, but Steven Seagal badass action flick Hard to Kill was tops at the box office in the US the weekend prior. Driving Miss Daisy and Tango and Cash were fun notables also in the top 10. Do you remember were you a Steven Seagal fan as a child?
Not a fan, no. I mean, obviously I knew who he was. He was everywhere, but yeah.
Dude, my dad loved
really
80s action flicks, so Steven Seagal was definitely one of it. Like, I remember Hard to Kill, and what's the other one that's like it's the exact same movie? Hard to Kill and Out for Justice, I think, is the other one. That's a Steven Seagal flick. They're the same fucking movie, just
right?
The same. It's like the exact same fucking movie 2 times in a row, like a year apart or something. That Steven Seagal is in. Yeah, the 80s are funny. And then Paula Abdul's Opposites Attract was atop the Billboard Top 100 chart.
Oh my gosh, that song! I've heard that song so many times to this day. I'm sure. Just like, turn it off.
I'm sure I would, if I heard it, I'd be like, oh, I recognize that, but I don't know. I have no idea what that song is. I have no clue.
Oh my gosh, dude! I heard for some reason, like I feel like this is right when I was like introduced to music videos and when I really started watching music videos. And for some reason, that is one of those initial videos that I just was just on repeat. Like if I was at my cousin's house and they had, MTV or whatever, or when we finally got it, it was just like that song. I'm like, oh my gosh, stop it.
Yeah. See, this is before I had any access to MTV. So that's probably part of it, but I mean, I was definitely sitting like at my house listening to 92.3 The Party Pig and fucking that was all R&B and like, kind of commercial hip hop stuff that I'm sure she was playing on, but I fucking it didn't land on me in a memorable way, I guess. Anyhow, what kind of game what is this shit, Jay?
I mean, it's 1990. You already know what it is. Scrolling action platformer.
Yeah.
Standard.
So with the artwork and the cover art and the manual and shit, the cover art it's very simple, essentially just the 1989 film key art with the slightest hint of window dressing. What's behind Jay there, essentially, and the word Batman's up top. The Bat logo dominates the middle third, and just solid black behind those. And I never noticed this, but there is some moonlit hue clouds on the lower fifth of the box, suggesting the above shit, the Batman and the logo are located high in the sky, I guess. And like, like I said, I had this game and it's just one of those little, it's like I've talked about with those Nintendo Power covers. Like you had them in your entire childhood and like, they're not the focal point of the image and you're a dumb kid. So you don't pay attention to everything. Yeah. Now I pay attention to everything because I'm a psychopath. So, like I looked at it and I was like, wow, I never, crazy. Again, I had this game was this was like a prized possession of mine. Yeah.
So you had this game, you owned it and did not beat it growing up.
Well, we'll get to that later. I thought I did, but I didn't. I have this memory that is just stark of after my parents got divorced, and I was with my mom in Grafton when we first left Oberlin, and I think I want to say I got this for Easter or something, like just prior to that happening, maybe. And I remember playing this and leaving the Nintendo on. Like playing it all night, leaving the Nintendo on, and like putting something in front of the Nintendo to hide the power light. And now I'm like an expectation that she's rummaging around my room trying to turn my Nintendo off, but like No risk. I don't want any risk.
Yeah.
I don't want anything coming near the reset button. I don't want, you know what I mean? Like that level of like, this is taking forever. I'm really trying to beat this game. And I thought that I did in that little segment of time, but you know, we'll get to it later, but no, I did not do that. So they also slapped the line "the video game" below the logo, which surely is just some DC Comics IP legalese imposing its will onto Sunsoft's licensing of the property, I'm guessing. Couldn't find an actual explanation, though, of specificity. And then the back of the box has a scene from the film. Batman standing on the edge of some building looking out at the bat signal being cast into the sky. And a headline reads, "He's totally new, totally tough, and he'll stop at nothing to make sure justice prevails." And there are a few paragraphs of original copy not found in the manual below that, all of which is pretty good. And I'll only orate the last because I thought this one was worth it. "This is no kid stuff. This is as real as video gaming gets. If you liked what you saw in the movie, you're going to love what you see here, because this time around, Batman is all business, and he won't let anything stand in his way." There's also 2 small screenshots. Pretty good choices, though. There's a Gotham City skyline shot, moon above from a cinematic. Pretty close to what I have behind me right now. Or no, what I had behind me in the first segment, I'm sorry. And the first boss fight in front of City Hall with Firefly are the 2 screenshots. That's pretty good. The manual, which will be in the show notes as it always is, it's 28 pages with covers, and this manual is absolute fucking fire. They spared no expense. It's full color throughout, including huge and well-done screenshots. The layout background is a light shade purple with the Batman logo etched into it in white, so even like it's not just blank white pages, like everything about it is well done. And this is a pretty funny manual to me. There's a lot of weird, unique shit in here that I don't recall seeing in any of the things we've read so far, and I'm guessing probably not in many of the ones that we'll see in the future, but the page 1 kicks things off with a thank you that I wanted to read as well. "Please read this instruction booklet carefully before," and that's in bold, "starting to play the game. In doing so, you will be able to play the game better and enjoy it even more. Be sure to keep these instructions in a safe place." And there's just a lot there. The bolded before is really funny, like really driving that home, like learn how to play it before you play it, which no kid did. So, it's just I don't know, it's almost acknowledging that known fact, like that kids aren't reading these fucking things, and they might not know how to play the game as a result.
And obviously, what I envision, what is really behind that is read the freaking manual so you don't play this, get angry, throw your controller, and say the game sucks. Like,
right. And that's what I mean. Like it's an awareness that I don't know, companies and corporate America just doesn't have in general, but like at the time, this being such a new business, I don't know, you have to envision some kind of like market research. They're doing fucking focus groups or something, and they're like, the kids don't know how to play the game, even though they have the materials with which to fucking know how to play the game. And it's just, I don't know, it's there's a lot going on there. And then the suggestion to keep them in a safe place, alluding to the likelihood of a dumb kid will lose them and be screwed when they need like the new control or need the control information or something, is funny to me too. That it reminds you that fucking keep this important document. Pages 4 to 5 are titled "Summary of Objectives," and they are really just bullet points of the stage structure and boss battles, but it's a presentation of it I don't think I've seen before. This again, kind of like almost like a statement of purpose or something. There's like a formality to it, I guess, maybe more so than you see in a lot of things. So just again, anytime they're just taking the time to theme the instruction manual in a way that makes it a piece of the story, not just a breaking of the fourth wall explanation of technical bullshit, and that's really cool. I like when they do that. They also make note of the interstage demonstrations before each stage start, which is referring to the dope-ass cutscenes. I've never heard them termed that before, interstage demonstrations. Pages 8 through 13 are a breakdown of the stages. Each gets a full page with what I might say is unequivocally the best capturing of a screenshot in printed form in any manual to date, no question. It's like very clear, very discernible. No, they always look terrible. Even in Nintendo Power and shit, they usually look terrible. So it's fucking, however they did it, they were breaking the fucking mold there. For some reason, stage 4, Laboratory Ruins, gets 2 pages. Probably, I'm guessing, just a layout balance thing in the manual, since the stage count is an odd number. But it was still, I still, even after playing through the game, I was expecting some like really distinct difference. And it's just, you go from that one stage 4-1. I think the break is at 4-1 to 4-2 essentially, going from because you're going from the thing with the screens and shit, that's 4-1, into kind of the more electrical space, with the wires and stuff. And that's 4.1 to 4.2, and it's I mean, yeah, it looks different, but there's no like big narrative change there. I don't know. It's weird. They give you a solid paragraph, a flowery copy, explaining the setting and objectives in each as well. All of it is a good read. I'd recommend. The stage sequence goes as such. Stage 1, Gotham City. The boss here is Killer Moth. Stage 2, Axis Chemical Factory. The boss is the Machine Intelligence System. Stage 3, Underground Conduit. Boss is the Executioner. Stage 4, Laboratory Ruins. Another machine is the boss here, the Dual Container Alarm. And Stage 5 is the Cathedral. 2 bosses are found here, Firebug and the Joker himself. Thorough breakdowns of both regular enemies and bosses, each getting 2 pages, get us to a bat weapons on page 18, and Batman is equipped with his punch at all times, optional weapons to win, which is cool wording. There are 3. There's the spear gun, to shoot a pointed spear at enemies, the batarang, and it's like a boomerang, it's designed to throw at the enemy and return to Batman, and then the dirk, to shoot in 3 split directions to beat enemies in a broad area, is how that's described. We have bat items on page 19, not doing a lot on pickups, just bonus points, bullets, and those apply to all 3 weapons. And then life hearts, page 20 goes through jumping mechanics, a short jump tapping the A button, a full jump holding it, and the incredibly well executed wall jumping. We'll get when we get into the controls, we'll talk about those. And lastly, there are 2 full pages dedicated to score recording, incredibly excessive for a game like this, where I never once even thought about my score.
Not a single time. I'm like, every time I pick up one of those bees, I'm like, who cares?
Yeah, those are yeah, extra fucking stupid. The bonus point pickups, but yeah, even the killing of it, yeah, it's really dumb. There's just no. I mean, it's just it's a extension of the arcade aspect of video games that is to them is the same thing, but this is feels like an increased obsolescence, if that's a word, of them. Like it's extra stupid here.
Yep. Like even if you were again all about competition and you wanted to prove you're the best at this game, would you really do it based on the random RNG of your drops? Or would you do it on like the speed with which you could get through this game, or minimal lives lost or something? Like points just seem very pointless here.
Yep. For sure. Let's talk about notable history. There's got to be some for this fucking game.
So this game, it's funny. The prototype of this game had you defeating Firebug like as your final boss, and the art was also different. But then they changed it, obviously, to better reflect the movie. So they made a bunch of changes to make it much more in line with the movie art, movie graphics, and clearly it worked out because it was released to positive reviews, and as we know, is considered by many players and many reviewers to be one of the most difficult games ever released for the NES. Ever released.
I would not argue with that. That suggests that the project was not incited by the release of the movie if the Joker was not the focal point,
Right, like they were working on a Batman game, and then got wind, or somebody was like, hey, we're coming out with a movie, and they're like, we gotta sync this up,
Yep.
There's an opportunity here we're gonna miss out.
Cut us a big check and we'll go back to the drawing board. Yeah, okay. That is interesting. Yeah, I would have guessed that this project was created solely for the purpose of marketing the film.
That's what I assumed everything was. The Bat Dance, Princess Song, you figured everything was like one big marketing push, at the time.
Yeah.
But apparently not.
Well, these don't happen much anymore, but economic analysis did go down for this.
Oh,
yeah.
Do tell.
Yeah, the focal point I went with was, how much would it cost in $1989 to clean up a dead body that was thrown off a skyscraper?
Oh my gosh. What?
So I pulled all my data from Fixer.com, Fixr.com, which has a handy chart for cleaning up various things that no human being would ever want to. And a link to that website will be in the show notes. As is usually the case with the commercialization of vile things, they've cooked up a bunch of meaningless jargon to neuter the experience of discussing these things with customers. So they call this service Biohazard Remediation, which sounds like a Beetlejuice fucking term or something. And instead of scraping dead bodies off of things, which is what it would be more literally described as, and it includes cleaning up non-dead body things like that term. Biohazard remediation, clean. It's not just dead bodies, but let's be real here. We're talking about dead bodies. And so this fucking website, you go to it, and it looks like.
What?
I wish I could describe this as funny to me as I found it to be when I first looked at it. I don't think I'm capable, but it's like you go down the list or you scroll down the webpage, and there's like the section of like the different categories of things that you can hire someone to clean up in this category, and they're oversized icons that someone had to design. So like they're not. It should just be a list. This should just be words. There should be no. We don't need a visual aid. You know what I mean for this. So there's two separate categories. I don't know. Maybe I'll cover that after I explain it. But so okay. So one of the categories is crime scene and after death, and that category is priced at $400 to $600 per hour. And these costs are further defined as. Biohazard remediation is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Different types of materials and issues require various services. Some remediations require combining multiple services to restore the home to its former glory. A different cost is associated with each type of service. This is due to the time, materials, and level of safety that must be considered before the service begins. I love that. I would book this commercial in a heartbeat reading that copy that way. That was so good, right?
Professional. I'm like in the back of my mind, I'm like, but we're talking about cleaning up.
Right. That's exactly what a good commercial fucking audition is trying to get out of it. They want you to literally lull the listener to sleep. They want the listener to not think about what was actually said and just to be so enamored or swayed by the human being that delivered it to them that they just say yes.
I'm disturbed. It's like,
yeah. So, there are some options in this category, or some other options, rather, that are in this category. There's hoarder cleanup for $25 to $150 an hour. There's unattended death. So, that's a different service. Unattended death means nothing gruesome happened. Someone just died and no one knew that it happened. So,
clean up
the body was there for a while. Yeah.
Got it.
So that's a different deal. And then there's also animal waste or remains. And this is, I told you, those are all priced by the hour, right? So animal waste or remains is priced at $20 to $25 per 50-pound bag. And I think it is just such a missed opportunity that they don't price human remains in the same by-the-pound manner.
Oh, that's so morbid. Oh.
It was again, especially like I said, all this, you just got to go look at the website. It's all like there's these icons, and it looks. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good analogy or a good comparison. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not coming up.
Kind of afraid to go look.
You just get like I said, they're just the accidental death is like it's like a guy fucking. It's like one of the bathroom sign guys like slipping on something.
Oh my god!
Oh man, I was fucking dying doing this. I was laughing my ass off. Which I don't know, maybe I'm sick fuck, but I can't imagine you listen to this podcast to episode 64 and not also have enough of a comparable sense of humor to enjoy looking at that website. So if you're listening to this and it's not the first time you're listening to this podcast and you're back here for a return fucking visit, then I highly suggest going to the website because you're fucked up enough to enjoy it. But anyhow, back to murder cleanups. Some more explanation of those. So cleaning up blood and bodily fluid, such as a crime scene, is expensive and quite involved. First, many of these sites have sat for prolonged times as there are often legal and investigative protocols that must be followed before cleanup commences. The safety measures required to curb exposure to the hazards make crime scene cleanup costly. Homicide or suicide cleanup costs can run up to $25,000 to clean and restore the site. Wow. So, given that the Joker fell from what looks like quite a tall building, and even though the cutscene imagery contradicts this theory, we're going to go with that max number of $25K for murder cleanup. Yeah. And the cumulative inflation rate from 2022 to 1989 is a minus 55.5%. So in $1989, Gotham taxpayers would have to pony up $11,119 to clean up Joker's pavement mush. And I'm thinking maybe they just asked Batman to cover that. Maybe it doesn't get pushed on.
Right? Like, Batman, you got this, dude.
Yeah. Like, I don't know though. I don't know. That's tough. That's like I'd like to watch the city hall meeting where that gets decided. And just to finish this out, $11,119 in 1989 could buy you, or discussing what it could buy you, I guess. The median household annual income was $28,906, so almost half an annual salary to clean up Joker's mush.
Wow.
And the average cost of a car was $12,000, so just under the average new car purchase to clean up a fucking dead body. That is the stage 3 theme. I'm bringing this into the beginning of, or just after hitting power on this fucking game, and that starts with the title screen. After the de facto licensed property legalese, a very nice looking cutscene fires up. Dope music scoring to match. Cutscene starts with a really nice pan across the Gotham skyline at night, offering up some story copy, and then moving into introductions of the Joker, Vicky Vale, and Batman, all of which are spot-on pixelized portraits of the actors in the film, not characters. They are portraits of those actors playing the role in the movie, which is... That's to even try that on NES fucking hardware is ballsy, and to pull it off is... Whew.
Dude, was it the first time that we had, like, movie-level... captures of people's faces like this in a game? I feel like this is the first time I saw it, and I was like, wow.
On the really NES.
Yeah,
probably.
On the NES. Like,
I mean, you can't, it's hard to cross-reference with what might have been going on in the PC world at the time. But I mean, consoles were ahead of PCs at the time. That was part of why consoles
were
worked.
So wanted, yeah.
Yeah, because they were outperforming. So, I mean, it may very well be, I mean, and again, the thing about that is that's a subjective thing.
Right.
Of whether or not likely, whatever, so but
graphically,
yeah,
it's so good. They're so good.
It's next level. Yeah, the everything aesthetically in this game is just.
And this is why playing this game, because obviously I did not own it, playing this game, not having an NES yet, you're just like, my Atari, what do I do with this thing? My Atari can't do this. It can't make this.
This is like having a fucking Xbox in 2022 instead of a fucking Oculus. That was really hard to say. 2022. 2022 is a really hard thing to say. I have not tried to say that out loud, I don't think. 2022.
2022.
So whenever you decide to hit start, a nice title screen is provided with a full Tim Burton's Batman rendition taking up the left entire half of the screen, and then the title treatment up top on the right and push start below it. They, of course, have to reiterate that this all belongs to DC Comics here as well. And then you hit start, and another, even more fire, in my opinion, cutscene rips in with some also straight fire music. This one featuring the Batmobile speeding along, then cuts to a reverse from behind it doing the same, so you can peep the jet engine spitting fire out the back of it, which is a nice, dramatic, cinematic decision.
Yeah, not only that, but this was like the coolest Batmobile that was ever made at this point. You know what I mean? So like to see it like on the screen like that, it was like, fuck it!
yeah, pretty fucking dope. So the Batmobile comes to a stop. Batman Dukes of Hazzard styles out of it onto the pavement, and then we get into the game view, and Batman falls from the sky to the ground, and we are playing Batman the video game. So let us briefly speak on controls and HUD. The B button attacks, A button jumps, down on the D-pad crouches. Select pauses, one of those weird control sets, because start is used to cycle through the 4 Bat Arsenal options, and that's a very logical choice, actually, putting it closer to your right thumb, given the frequency you need to use it in the game, so excellent choice there. Your HUD is confined to the top left corner, where you'll find iconography of what weapon you have selected, or it just says Batman when you have the punch selected, and then your life bar. And pausing the game will click this over to your score and remaining life count, like in the same place, in a different... the orange font, I believe, as opposed to the purple that's there when you're playing the game. There are some advanced wall jumping capabilities you have that we'll talk about later as the areas where they're used are presented to us. So we are in Gotham City Stage 1-1 here when we first start, and Gotham City is dark and brooding as it's always portrayed, and I like that shit. There's like a very industrial feel, and all the foreground platforms have an orange hue to them, and you can see the little divots on them, suggesting they're all exposed steel and stuff. The background is greens, grays, and purples, and they're just subtle outlines of things to give the feel that they can just be seen off in the shadows. You know, it is flat out great looking NES game at every step of the fucking way, dude. And like, you know, it's funny, like I played particularly this part of the game before I watched the film, and you know, even that like theater thing that you see a few times in that first level that's in the movie, dude. Like that's a theater in the movie, and it's the one where he's putting the flowers on the sidewalk, you know. Fucking, oh, God. Where Vicky Vale is super creepily following him and walks up and fucks with the flowers after he does it, like, fucking creep. But whatever. There's also some recognizable city things, like a don't walk crosswalk sign, you know, that theater I mentioned. There's a delicatessen sign, and there's just a lot of really cool little just subtle efforts to make this like a believable,
graphically strong. Yeah, it's like when you pause and look at it, it's like that looks like, compared to all the other games we play that have come out and been released during this time, it just seems superior in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You know, to other games that have already been released on NES. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's like they just took better advantage of the
part of it's fucking. Part of it's fucking Sunsoft. They're just good, you know. All their like, we're talking about Fester's Quest, where these games are like
true.
That opening fucking cutscene in Fester's Quest was, prior to playing this, was probably what I said was the dopest looking thing on the system, you know. So like, yeah, the Sunsoft was just on a whole nother level as far as the aesthetic execution on NES hardware. But even that stated, I mean, yeah, this is just fucking. Oh. You put this next to, I don't know, man, some of the other games. Clearly, you know, you're not gonna be as bombastic as talking about like black box titles at the beginning of the system, but even comparable at the time, 1990 releases, like,
yeah,
you know, like even
pretty much anything else we've talked about, Contra,
yeah, like, so yeah, Super C looks great at times. Like there are some really cool looking parts of Super C, but
it doesn't.
like fucking Sunsoft, like, you know, if you put like Sunsoft, like, you know, like two buddies that are good at their jobs together, and like you put them in the same room comparing fucking like pieces of their own work. Like you put Sunsoft and Konami in the same fucking room, and like the Sunsoft dude is just dunking on the fucking Konami guy, you know, like, you bitch, you know. So yeah, it's fucking, yeah, it's on a whole nother level for sure. So as you proceed right from the starting point, they dip your toe in slowly, kind of starting with the most basic of the basic grunts that just run straight at you, kamikaze style, and past even if you don't kill them with a single punch, so they don't even like turn around and come back to you. And these are called Shakedowns in the manual, which is I think a cool grunt name. A lot of the names are pretty cool, I think, even like because a lot of them are not actually Batman rips from the Batman universe, so they're original names. And I thought even that level was like, you know, pretty well done and interesting. I mean, they have nothing to do with Batman, but just as opposed to, I don't know, you know, a lot of this type of stuff is often just total throwaway by developers. Just like, you know, I don't know. I can't even imagine how some of the shit gets cooked up for this stuff. I'm sure they didn't care, but. They also introduce you to Heatwave Dudes, which are fire-shooting soldiers crouched and stationary, and then mobile trackers, and these are little Hot Wheels cars with spikes on top of them that teach you to use your crouching punch attack. And then lastly, there are Deadshot enemies, and these are stationary dudes that kneel while they reload their guns and shoot you from afar as you approach. And the strategy with these dudes is just kind of timing their predictable firing schedule, ducking those, and then running up and clocking them in the face before they fire that next bullet, you know. And these are actually, the Deadshots are one of the few direct rips from the DC Comics universe for enemies in the game, though it's a bit weird to me because he's used as just a grunt, kind of seen as a status as a Batman adversary probably warrants him being a boss of some kind, you know? Like that's the Will Smith character in the whatever Batman that was, or whatever, who knows, Justice League, who the fuck knows what that is, but
yeah, you know, Suicide Squad,
right.
But I didn't know anything about him, honestly, before that movie. So to me, I'm just like, okay, he's a grunt here. He's like,
I knew about him.
Maybe
he's a big part of one of those PS3 Batmans, Arkham City or something. So yeah, it's like a big deal because one of the, I think it might be the very first time they teach you about the crime scene analysis stuff, which is a really cool part of that video game. I think it's a Deadshot crime scene where you're tracking the bullet fragments and like the path of the bullet. You're able to see it with Batman's fucking tech and stuff. It's really cool. So, yeah, so I learned a little bit about them there. But yeah, I was never. I guess I haven't said that yet, but I've never been a DC Comics person, so I've never really read Batman at all. So I don't really know many of the characters other than the big ones. No platforming is required here, really. It's just a straight shot to a doorway at the end of a short run to the right. And when you enter these doorways, you get a dissolve fade, which is another kind of nod to cinematic tone of this video game. And then we are into Gotham City, stage 1-2. And I think the idea here is you're entering some kind of back alley. You know, there are storefronts in the early going here before you have to work your way upwards. And you are introduced to the mobile home mines. And I don't know why they need the word home in that moniker. I don't really.
That's
I guess homing. I guess homing.
Mobile
maybe
homing mines. Maybe.
Yeah,
because they go to where you jump or where you're at.
Right. Yeah, and that's exactly. They detect your presence once you get a few Batmans away from them, and then they aggro at you. They get a couple flashes of the onboard LED in the middle of them, and then they zoom along the ground at you. So you just jump them. The only way to really take them out by wasting them in advance is the spread shot, and that's a poor usage of resources, I think. Then it's time to either get acquainted with the wall jump or do the stupid thing. And there is a sheer vertical shaft, which is it's like they even put it first to incentivize you to choose it or see it or engage it first, however you want to, And then next to that is a series of alternating direction platforms with heat wave enemies perched on them. So if you with the wall shaft, or with the shaft rather, if you jump at one side of the wall shaft and then tap the jump again as you come in contact with it, Batman will briefly clamp onto that wall, kind of with like a, I don't know, like with his, he like puts his like, kind of like a kneel, like a side kneel, and puts his both hands, as if he
like
has
a Spider-Man thing, how Spider-Man would do if he was to jump on a wall.
Right, yeah. And, I'm guessing it's probably like some sort of magnetic gadget that he has in his gear, that would enable this. But anyways, he'll briefly clamp onto the wall and then bound off of it at a 45-degree angle up and towards the opposing wall. And you can repeat this process to climb all the way up to the top as you pass the heatwave dudes and the platforming shaft to the right. So this teaches you and reinforces it that using this technique is smart and good, and it works to this. I cannot, again, just like we were talking about with the graphics, I cannot fucking believe how well this works from a control and mechanic standpoint. It just feels so fucking good for an NES control thing. Like everything.
I think it's because we've played several other games now where you had to wall jump or something, and it was just a pain. It wasn't executing.
Think about
that's
a
curse word. Don't you say that? You don't say that on this channel anymore.
Yeah, like it. Oh my god.
But yeah, contrasting it to that, the wall jumping here is freaking smooth. Like I had no problems. Honestly, it was more just like, if I missed a jump, it's because I missed it.
Yeah, exactly. I said that to you when we first talked about this. I'm like, it's hard, but it's the kind of hard where you're like, fuck, that's my fault.
Like you have to. I think it's good because it's so responsive. There's times when you have to do the maximum jump back and forth, but then there's times later on you have to do like a short jump, and it's like, fuck, I can't get hit by that blade. But it's still very well done, very well executed.
Yep. I'm inclined to say, despite a faint fear of hyperbole, that it might be the most impressive instance of controls in an NES game. Like factoring in the complexity of it, the wall jump I'm saying here, factoring in the complexity of it and how well and predictably you can wield it. I don't know if there's a better job on the NES. You know what I mean? And that's fucking,
might be.
That's, that's saying a lot. There's a lot of NES games. there are situations where you can use this mechanic in slightly not obvious ways to help with platforming and shit too, and I'll bring these up as I know them to exist when they arise in the playthrough. But that's, you mentioned like sometimes you have to do it in just like even going up just shafts and stuff in this nuanced way. But yeah, there's also times where you like, I'm looking at right now, I think it's 1-3 or something here maybe, where this is the chemical factory 2-1, where you're like, you have to like slide off the platform and clamp onto it as you're falling. and then wall jump off of that to get a little further than you would have gotten with just jumping off the platform, you know. And they found, you know, they probably, I want to think that they looked at this and felt it while they were playing. They're like, God damn, this is good. How can we use this more? you know what I mean? Yeah.
Because I would approach those times where you had to kind of slide down, and I'm like, this is going to be terrible and difficult. And then it's not, and I'm like, I try it like 2 times, and I'm like, I got it now. Like, wow, great. You know?
Yeah. Great,
it just works. It just works.
Yep. Amen. Anyway, at the top of that shaft, you work your way back to the left, dealing with the little RC cars in ways that force you to, like, you have to quickly kneel and attack as they come out of nowhere. You know, you drop off a platform and then quickly drop down and duck, which is that, you know, that's something you have to employ a lot in this game, and it can be a little tricky. Like, I don't know if maybe my USB NES controllers are just like a slight, like, I don't complain about them often, but I do sometimes feel like they're a little shittier than a real NES controller, you know? And like the D-pad in particular, when I want to kneel and attack and stay kneeled, or maybe even turn while kneeling, you know, like things like that. Like, I don't always feel like I necessarily get the best responsiveness in those instances. And this game makes you do that a lot, where you want to land and immediately be doing something, you know, with the crouch. That doesn't always work out. But once up here, you get a couple of the Enforcer enemies, and these are jetpack pricks with machine guns. They shoot down at you, and these will position themselves reliably if you stay stationary in a movement loop that allows you to just crouch and fire off dirk attacks as they reach the bottom of their flight pattern, you know? And there's 2 of the, or you do 2 of those dirk attacks and they're toast. So that's, actually, yeah, so this was a game you hadn't played much of. Like, is that an instance where you, like, how did you deal with those? Was that intuitive to you, or, you know?
Yeah, and like this part was just so easy to me, and this was very intuitive. But like the first time, so I started this, made it to the boss, and then I started over again because like I kind of just went through it willy-nilly, just kind of seeing what happened at first, and like ran through all of my weapons, and so I was kind of just punching all the time. I was like, man, this is not the way to do it. So I started over, went back through it more judiciously, like, all right, I'm gonna be smarter about this and punch a lot more. So when I got to those guys the second time around, I honestly used the boomerangs. Like, for some reason, the boomerangs feel,
well, they're so much
like
faster.
The best return for best bang for your buck, for better,
right.
You know, like a better way to use it.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny that, you know, that's something I think also, because there's this economy that I guess we haven't mentioned, and it's a huge part of the strategy element of this game is, the batarangs use 1 ammo unit, the gun uses 2, and the dirk uses, is it 5 or 3? 3, right? 3.
I feel like it's 3. It's a lot, yeah. It
so,
drains quickly using those bad boys.
So, yeah, you know, the dirk is the most effective thing by a mile, but you are always ammo, you know, it's important. You do have a limited amount. You have 99 as the max amount, and if you are just dirking fucking, you know, with no fucking remorse, you can fuck yourself and run out of ammo. You know, there are times, boss battles mostly in particular, where it becomes a serious issue. And so I'm not going to say that it's not, you know, I guess what I'm getting at here is I am so often, I've said it a million times with these games, I am always so conservative with ammunition, you know. So this is a game that incentivizes you, like it's a great balance of incentivization to embrace these gadgets, and that's such a big part of Batman. Like, if you were not incentivized to use Batman's gadgets in this Batman game, you would be losing a lot of what makes Batman cool, and that is a really nice, I don't know, that's a really nice thing to me, that even my conservative ass wants to engage the gadgets a lot in the game, you know. So that's cool, and it's really well done. But yeah, there is no question an economy to that, and you know, you make these choices very often, like what you might choose to use the shittier thing, comparatively speaking, because of the economy of it, and where you think you're at in a level, whether or not you believe you'll be able to farm more ammo. You know, like there's a constant economy awareness in the game that is really well done, and you know, I enjoy a great deal about the game.
That might be the top thing that was in my mind, like top of mind playing this game, was constant management of my ammo. And, you know, I'm gonna, for the same reasons, like after playing that first boss and realizing like I can't be at a boss with no weapons, this is out of control. So after that, I played super conservative the whole time. I'm gonna punch until I realize I need something else. Something else is more efficient. Then I'm gonna go boomerang because it's automatically, the least gonna use the least ammunition. And so, yeah, that's what I did. But I felt like that was constantly the thing that I was always concerned about. It's like, how much can I do? And yeah, to your point, it's amazing to me that you get to parts of this game and you can actually farm. And I'm like, you know what? Because I was getting stuck, and we'll get to it. I think it was the second or third level, and I kept getting stuck on this part. And then when the thing started dropping from the ceiling, I was like, I'm going to just sit here and punch. Yeah. And I did until I got 99. Then I was like, all right, got that and some health. Let's roll on.
So satisfying. Yeah. And we're not to it yet, but even the farming, it's not a guarantee. Like, the farming is not turnkey. Like, it requires skill to make it work. And
or you get that, hit often.
Yeah. Even that aspect of the game is like, okay, there's no freebies in this game, I guess is what I'm getting to there, Mm-mm. Yeah. So at the end of that little stretch there's another shaft, and you have to drop down into a blind pit, basically. And then at the bottom, a cagey beast appears for the first time. And this is just a dude wielding a katana and shuriken ninja options. And he's he's leaning against a wall in front of a store, looking about as casual and cool as a dude in ninja garb and a katana sticking up off his back can look in an urban setting. And kudos to them for that. But experienced Batman players will fall against the sheer wall on the right of this shaft and hit the wall jump button just before the end, and then pop over to the platform on the left here instead of dropping all the way down. Because if you drop all the way down, he aggroes kind of either way, really. But if you drop all the way down, he aggroes and you're on the ground. You're just a sitting duck, basically, for his first couple of attacks. So if you wall jump off the very, like, you have to, it's literally got to be the last inch of that wall, and then you can wall jump over to the platform. He's just basically fucking going berserker on the ground below you, And then in that case, you can more strategically engage his ass, and it's, he's tough regardless. He takes quite a few hits, but you can stun lock him with batarangs and just repeat that till death if you're having trouble going any non-cheese route, So
I could not hit him at first. I was like, can I hit this freaking dude? What's going on?
He's tough.
So I stocked up on shurikens and took him down, or dirks, whatever they're called.
So yeah, he acts as kind of a mini boss for the level, even, I would say, and he's the last thing you encounter before running through a short empty stretch to the exit and getting into the first boss battle. This is Gotham City Hall, stage 1-3, and they all are actually a single screen boss arena, and it's the front steps of Gotham City Hall. This is what's behind me right now, and it looks dope as fuck. The negative space shadow use for art in this game, it's absolutely aces, and this is, again, watching the movie, this is a fucking just spot on fucking portrayal of the City Hall steps in the movie, where I think they're coming out of a courtroom or something, and Joker, there's a bunch of mimes that just start showing up in the street. Batman or Bruce Wayne for some weird reason is just standing there watching this all happen, which is fucking weird. But the bunch of mimes walk up, and then Joker comes out of nowhere, and they end up just shooting. It's a really cool scene, but it looks just like this as far as how the City Hall steps look. So really good job. And they also have a specific boss battle tune, obviously. And Killer Moth is the boss here. Also one of the few pulls from the DC Comics universe baddies in the game. He's kneeling at the base of the steps as the screen fades in. His jetpack fires up and he flies up to the top of the screen. And not being a DC Comics reader, it occurred to me, I've spent my whole life adoring this game, yet having no clue who this character might have been about. So I thought I'd check out the wiki on him. It's pretty damn interesting, as it turns out. He was an unidentified prisoner reading a newspaper article about Batman and decides to set himself up as the anti-Batman, hiring himself out to Gotham criminals to help them evade police capture. So he cooks up the disguise of Mothman, and he uses his illicit gains to build a Batcave knockoff from the pictures of it that were also in the newspaper. Which begs the question, how the fuck did those get into the newspaper exactly?
Right? Who's putting... Is that Vicky Vale?
Right. That's probably Vicky Vale, yeah. And her creepy ass. He even devises an infrared moth signal, a knockoff of the bat signal idea, to give to criminals to call him because they didn't have cell phones yet, or beepers even. And seen as he first appeared in 1951, I guess that's worth mentioning as part of that He would even further bite off Batman's shtick, concocting a fake millionaire philanthropist identity, Cameron Van Clear, that would even befriend Bruce Wayne at one point. So he's quite the fucking espionage infiltrator.
Right.
Here in the video game, he has a jetpack and flies between the two upper corners of the screen, stops and throws down a 4-pronged projectile attack before swooping down towards the center of the screen and then back up. And I don't even remember ever battling any way other than a very easy, no threat to Batman cheese tactic that I must have picked up who knows where. Or maybe I devised it, I don't know. But you saddle up all the way into the bottom left corner. You just crouch down, and you wait for him to swoop towards you and pepper his ass with the dirt, basically. And from here, neither his swoop or his projectile can hit you, and the only modicum of difficulty is timing the dirks with his swoop before you fucking waste too much ammo. But, I mean, you got to be really bad at it to run out of ammo. Here, I guess maybe a half dozen of those attacks take care of it. How was your first bottle? Yeah. First bottle? What the fuck is that? How was your first boss battle?
It wasn't bad. Yeah, like I said, came here without weapons the first time, and I was just like trying to punch him. I was like, this is nuts. So when I came back, he would shoot, and I found a spot, probably, if I'm looking at the City Hall steps, probably like the second stone from the left, and he would shoot and miss me with his projectiles. And I can just stand there, same thing, and just hit him with the dirks.
Oh, so it's essentially the same idea, but that's cool that there's another spot, I guess, that where the swoop doesn't get you there.
If I hit him, no, because he use on one side and he'll swoop me. Yeah,
I never thought to use it with this guy, but that is a boss strategy that is hugely important to understand, particularly late in the game. That when you hit the boss, he has a moment of flashing where if he touches you, he does not hurt you, and that is a strategy later in the game that you need to employ. So that is worth mentioning. That's cool that you discovered it here. So when he is fragged, you get the multi-explosion boss death animation, which has more going on it than just the regular baddie one. We didn't mention that, but yeah, when you kill the enemies in the game, they have like this little explosion, this really quick explosion animation that is kind of cool. And another instance of like that comic book thing where like no one's dying here. They're just,
right. Like this is a killer moth robot. Like
yeah. You're not killing people here. And then it cuts to some animated cutscene action, and that is the Batmobile cruising shot we saw before Stage 1, but here the machine gun compartment covers come flying off, and it starts popping off machine gun rounds. And that's not very eco-friendly, Jay, seeing as those compartment covers are likely not made of any sort of biodegradable material. And even if they were, it would still constitute senseless littering, I think. So that's something.
He's Batman. We're going to let it go.
That's something to discuss with Bruce and Batman, I think, at the next fucking chapter meeting. What they are shooting here is a steel garage door, and they cut a perforated line across the middle of it that allows the Batmobile to drive through and screech to a sliding stop inside of the Access Chemical Factory. And this is a direct rip from the film as well. Like that shooting of the garage door thing is something that happens in the film. Very, very fucking cool. And like, again, not remembering the movie well, and having played much of the game before I played it, when I saw that scene, I was definitely like, "Oh, like it was very satisfying how easily discernible and direct of a representation I recognize that to be from the video game version of it." Like again, we're talking about like their ability to portray things from that movie with pixel art is fucking crazy that you can recognize anything. So really fucking cool little moment when I was watching the movie. And yes, we are in Access Chemical Factory, Stage 2-1, and it's an internal industrial space, less purple in favor of more greens as far as the color palette goes, which makes a lot of sense. Toxic substances are everywhere, and there are steel platforms, little railings, pipes, exhaust fans, pools of toxic waste drippings coming from above, so on and so forth. After a couple of the grunts from Stage 1, we get the new grunts. These are Night Slayers, and that's an incredible name. And there is a Night Slayer in the DC universe, according to the wiki, but he's a martial artist burglar, and these enemies are slow as fuck, so I don't think this is really a direct pull effort on their behalf. The manual description for Night Slayers is, his movement is slow, but his nail is sharp. You work to the right at the beginning of the stage, and then back to the left for a row of precision platforming populated with a few Knight Slayers, and then back to the right yet again. You have to deal with a handful of heat waves and RC cars up here, as well as do some wall jump and or tactful navigation of jumping out from under low ceilings. And one of these is a long jump over a waste pool, and this is one of those moments I was talking about where you have to like slide off the platform, latch on to the side of it, and then jump off if you want to actually get across the gap and not land in the waste, you know. So you need to get
that's cool to me. Like, that's not even like, oh my gosh, they made it difficult. Like, it's difficult, but it's like, okay, I got this. This is a good difficult, you know?
Okay, and yeah, I guess maybe that's another, like, I'm probably going to keep asking you this, but like, did you intuit that?
Yes.
Yeah? That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, you look at it and you're like, there's no way that I can get across here any other way. Like, that's got to be the way. So
it's
pretty
solution.
Yeah, it was pretty easy to figure out. So I got to give him kudos to that it's not one of those things where, you know, some games you get to a ravine like that and you're just like, what the fuck, man? You die multiple times. You're like, how do I do it? But this, I didn't die. It was just like, all right, clearly I have to do this.
Yeah, that's cool. That's fucking great. So, yet another instance. Great job, Sunsoft. So yeah, you need to get even more proficient at this mechanic in 2.2, so it's a nice, relatively safe opportunity to warm you up to that, and that's cool. The exit door is just beyond that stretch, and you move into stage 2.2 of the chemical factory. And this area is greener. The orange is gone, and there's now more of a kind of a computer circuitry vibe going on. It's complete with some exposed wiring emanating electricity, capable of frying your ass. And there is a short, uneventful climb that gets you to the first meeting with javelin enemies, and these are squatty machines that shoot a claw out in front of them at a pretty rapid clip. And you just batarang these things, I think, is the solution for those. And that's kind of the thing with any sort of, you can jump across and punch, you can do a crouch and punch or something to get some of these enemies sometimes when they're like on a platform that you need to get to. But in almost all instances, you're dumb not to batarang. Then things get wall jumpy, having to use that to get across both horizontal and vertical spaces. And the platforming shaft populated with purple Knight Slayers, as opposed to the green scheme ones in 2.1, requires you to climb with wall jumps from one sheer wall to the sides of the platform, too busy with electrical hazards to actually jump up onto. So this is one of those moments where you first have to, start latching out of the wall in a way where your next pogo to the platform side will land you on the side of the next platform, not onto it. So often what that requires is almost like this, like, quick bounce back and forth where you let yourself fall a little bit to better position yourself for the next jump. And that, especially later on when they complicate it with other things, that is really where you separate the men from the boys on Batman, the video game, like your ability to time that stuff. And, there are instances even where you gotta do that batarang. You gotta jump low enough to stay below a projectile fire from the enemy, batarang them, then fall back down and catch yourself on the wall and repeat that till you're able to kill them on the platform with the batarang before you can cleanly jump up there, and like that. Yeah. That shit is hard. That shit is hard. So yeah, it's warming you up to it. This moment is not necessarily hard, but there's no question it's an evolution of using your wall jump than you previously had. And when you nail them, it feels so good. So the last stretch in here requires you jumping out over charged floors and avoiding a block right above your head, which means you can't pussyfoot the jump. You have to run and hit the A button at the last possible moment, and then wall jump onto the block in front of you, then bounce back onto the block you had come out from underneath, and like, again, it's just like little things that are just like, how about another little nuance? How about another little bit of extra, let's dabble a little bit, an extra little spice on the flavor of that, and let's see how you deal with it, and it's fucking good video game design. They up the ante on these by having the runner enemies over on the platform of one even that you're trying to get to, and there's a couple of these moments in a row before you get to the exit door. And then we are into stage 2-3 of the chemical factory. And the third phase of access is working your way through a processing facility in my pixel interpretation. And these are like conveyor belts, exposed gears, shit like that, you know. And they start us off here with the first drop claw in the game, another one of the automatons. And yes, these cling to the ceiling. They drop bombs intermittently, and you can punch them in midair as they fall, which will produce pickup drops. And you can get 3 of them to accumulate the, like, if you keep punching them as they fall, and 3 of them accumulate without you picking the pickups up, the drop claw will stop dropping shit. And that's how you create like a little bit of a longer opening to get through them or deal with something else that might be there, whatever it might be. But yes, it also, what this means is they allow for health farming or even ammo farming if you need it, you know. So those are like a curse and a blessing, I guess, at times
Right.
when you see them in games, or in the game rather.
They're a pain, man. Like every time I saw them, they were always a pain until the one time where I was like, I could use some health.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
The one time. Otherwise, every time I see them, I'm just like, let me just get past this thing.
Yep. So there are some of those, and then some platforming with heat wave cats to deal with, and jumping down gear line shafts blind, where you have to steer yourself in the air away from the gears to avoid damage. You know, on like both sides of a shaft, you have to like steer yourself to the middle of them, you know, as you work your way to the exit. And the stage 2 boss battle. Stage 2-4, and it is also a single screen boss arena, as they all will be, but it's a very different situation than the first stage's boss battle. So you're battling what's called the machine intelligence system in the manual, and the description is 3 targets. Electric current controller. When destroyed, the movement stops and Batman can move freely over the otherwise moving pillar. And then a cannon. And lastly, the nerve center is awakened after the first 2 targets are defeated. So it's 3 different machinations scattered around the screen that you have to deal with separately, and it's a really cool deviation from standard boss fare in an action platformer, I think. The first obstacle is the guns directly in front of you when you drop in on this little platform in the bottom left corner, and there's these 2 guns right in front of you, one at head level and then one at knee level for Batman, and they randomly alternate which one's shooting, and it is luckily a slow enough rate where you can jump them and get a shot off in between. It's tight, but it is doable.
Yeah.
And if you kneel and fire with the pistol, you can hit both of them at once. So, you know, that cuts the bullets you have to use in half, and it leaves you more ammunition to play, or for playroom with the latter phases of this thing. And that is, it ups the difficulty. It's again, like I mentioned, the crouch and attack thing is one of the trickier mechanics of the game. So doing that, if you are incentivized to do that, or you clocked it and are trying to do it, it makes it much harder and a little more frustrating. So, but again, like the economy of your ammunition is so important, especially in this boss battle because of the way it is. So you're it's not actually like I would eventually sort out a solution where it became less of a thing. But like when I first got in here, I didn't remember how to do it, and I definitely had a bunch of like, fuck, I don't have enough ammo for this, and like load state. Even
I died so many times, dude. Yeah. Like I would get hit by a bullet, like trying to crouch and hit them both. I'd get hit by a bullet because I just poor timing, or I'd try to jump down on the platform below.
You get wasted down there.
And then I get hit. I'd like accidentally hit one of the spikes and the little thing. Like I would just so many like deaths and stuff on this level. I was just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, it can be frustrating for sure. So once you get those out of the way, there's a sensor in the top left with a conveyor belt directly in front of it, but the conveyor belt is guarded by 4 overhead guns that shoot directly down on top of you. Kind of like they're like really slow. They almost like look like a drip, of something, but they're directly above you. And if you go onto that belt, you're taking damage. There's just no way around it. So I do a little mini wall jump off the side of the belt, and then you can land on the smallest of pixel widths in front of the electrical column on the upper right, and you can just from there you can just pop the sensor with it. Still requires some skill, as you have to do. It's a tap jump, not a full jump. If you do a full jump, you jump too high, you can't hit it. So you got to do that little a tap jump, and you also have to time your bullets to go between the things coming down, or it will kill your bullet. So yeah, this is no, even with this, like, I guess it's kind of a quasi cheese. It's not.
I don't think it's a cheese. I did it the same way. To me, that was the way to do it, because when you went on the conveyor belt, you're going to get hit from something dripping on you. Like, why would you go there at all? You know?
Right. Fair. So the moment that sensor blows up, the charged column behind you on that platform disappears, and the sensor behind it opens up to reveal a 3-direction spread shot gun that will pop your ass. And yeah, this is the part, like, I remember those first 2 parts almost instinctively, you know, but at this phase of it, yeah, I had, like, it took me quite a few trial and error whacks at it before I was able to cook up the optimal solution, you know, which, involved, completely expending my ammo and thinking I was just fucked, basically, or just dying because you're getting shot. And what I eventually sorted out was you can walk right up to it, and if you kept just the and it is pixel perfect. I don't think if you're too far, if you're one pixel back, I think the bottom bullet is hitting you, and if you're 1 pixel forward, it'll hit you by contact. You know, 100%. So it is a pixel perfect thing, but you can crouch beneath the gunfire on that pixel and just stand up after it passes and do a short hop. And this, again, another short hop, not a full hop, a short hop, and punch the sensor and then crouch back down and rinse and repeat, you know? And this is, again, another instance where it still was hard for me once I figured this out, because my crouching was not perfectly reliable, you know? You can sometimes crouch and be facing the wrong way, and then you have to hit right before you can, or like you have to turn back, which moves you, of course, you know, and that means you're getting hit, you know. So like it requires the tapping jump and then coming back down and making sure you crouch to the right, not crouch to the left, you know. And so it's not pretty tricky. I'm assuming that was how you dealt with that third phase.
Dude, we did it the exact same way. Before doing the run up and hit it thing, I tried going back to the original platform at the beginning.
Me too.
Like, that's jumping. I was like, okay, I'm distance, I'm far away, I can just jump and shoot it. But I was getting so little hits in because it's so hard to get the optimal height jump and get the gun and not get hit. And then I had to hit something.
And that's a dirk. You have to use the dirk to do that. So that's obviously the higher ammunition expending. So,
but I was trying the spear gun at first. Like, I was trying the gun first from a distance, and that was even poorer. So I was like, forget it. And then finally, I figured out the same thing. I was like, let me run up here. Died a couple times trying to get the right spot, but once I found it, I was like, okay, punching this thing, and then I was done. Finally. Yeah. This place was a bitch, man. I hate this level. Died much more. Like, you look at it, and because it's not a traditional boss, at least I looked at it and thought, okay, I got this. You know, I'll take everything out, because different games have switched it up like this. Super C, Contra, Mega Man, and you're like, all right, I can take this out.
Yeah, Shinobi had the train.
Yeah, but like I died several times trying to take it down. So.
I don't know if it's just recency bias, but I thought about Shinobi a lot when I was playing this game. Maybe because they're both hard as fuck. I don't know. In any event, there's a very short cutscene for that. There's no Batmobile or city sights, just a single card of your first interaction with the Joker. And it's just a portrait of the monster, long-barreled Joker, pistol-pointed, or POV, and the catchphrase that is probably the most memorable from the entire film: "Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?" And that is followed up with an evil ha 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 and ellipses. And then the portrait flashes mostly all white except for a visible muzzle flare on his gun. The next stage is the Underground Conduit. This is stage 3-1. And the Underground Conduit is a really fancy way to say sewer, which is what this stage is. And it looks stellar, of course, as they all do. There are drainage pipes, underwater turbines. Blue water brings that color into the green-orange palette we've been seeing a lot of, so that's a nice change visually. And you bump into one of the more savage of standard enemies early on here, the Jader. And the manual description of these is: Joker made this biological weapon to jump on Batman, and that is how they roll. They are huge apish fuckers that jump around on all fours with an intent to just kamikaze into you, you know. And
such a pain.
Yeah. The Batarang is the best method for dealing with them, seeing as they are too quick moving and heat seeking to use either of the slower bat gadgets. And these things will jump right up and down directly on top of you if you let them, like not running out of the way. You know, like often kamikaze enemies are kind of just like they'll blow through you and then go pass through and then come back. Like these motherfuckers will zero in on you and just up and down, just fucking pound your ass, you know. So the upside to that is, though, they are overzealous enough that you can fake them out and run one direction and then turn back once they're in the air, because their jump is when they're jumping, doing the long jump and not a straight up jump. It's slow enough where you can use that to your advantage, And then when they're in there, use enough, get enough room to hammer them with a batarang. So we have those, and then we have heat waves and RC cars here and there too, and they pair a couple of the cars with jaders in ways in the stage that are a real bitch to deal with, where you have to do that fucking crouch attack to deal with the RC things, and that slows you down immensely and nerfs your dexterity. So oftentimes the best thing is just to try to run through them, to be honest with you. Because it's really fucking hard to deal with both those things at the same time. Caused quite a few deaths in my play. But it's pretty much a straight shot left to right to get to the exit on 3-1, and then you were into 3-2, and this is more sewer action. The color palette switches over to a green, pink, yellow, and the water goes to green here. So we're in a murkier sewer, I guess. And gameplay is relatively similar, though. There's the same enemies paired with platforming complications by their locations, or with their locations. And then the end has a pretty cool wall jumping sequence where they add difficulty by covering stretches of each side of the shaft that you got to wall jump up with a layer of shit. Like, there's no enemies, but they cover each random stretches of each side of it with a layer of shit that sticks out and forces you to perfectly time free falls and wall jumps to work your way up, which also may have, because there's no enemies, may have literally just been a teaching tool that if you haven't, if you went through that part, and I think it's 2-2, where there's the Night Slayers on those platforms and you got to time your thing back and forth, if you're able to get through that without really internalizing that skill of, dropping and using where you're dropping to your advantage of where you're going to end up on your next wall jump, that few moves ahead chess mindset, this will force you to really focus on that, I think, and that's probably what they're thinking here, is to teach you that.
Yeah, this was honestly the first level where I started save scumming, and I was just and not even because the wall jumping itself was hard, because there were times that I would make mistakes wall jumping, on that part. But then there were times I would get hit by something. It was just stupid mistakes. I was just ugh. Yeah. At this point, I'm am I having fun right now?
Dude, you don't have to say that way. I haven't mentioned it, but I'm saves coming by now for sure. Yeah.
I tried to make it pretty solid all the way until here, and then I was just I can't keep doing this. It's taking up too much time.
I'm revisiting this, and I want to get an authentic experience. But I also, I guess I just know better. I have enough experience with it where I just know better. And, I was not bringing that negativity, that toxicity onto myself. I'm fucking
smart, very smart. You owned the game, so you had a leg up. So you knew what you were getting into. Whereas I had vague recollections and memories.
Yeah. So then we move into stage 3-3, and this is a cavern deal that you have to ascend through, and towards the top of that climb, some industrial shit starts working its way in, pipes and exhaust fans, et cetera, et cetera. And the only new enemy in here is the EEV, and this is a huge tank machine that drones back and forth, popping off fireballs at a downward trajectory. And the clip is pretty rapid, so jumping to avoid them is tough, I would say. So a better method I found was getting in close, and they're always on a platform that's a little higher than the one you're preceding it. And they're attempting to best deploy that downward trajectory firing in that in that idea, and then hopping up to batarang between shots basically is how I would deal with them. Although I was just watching a playthrough, and the guy was really aggroing at them with a punch, and they would keep backing up if you pushed into them, and which is looked effective, but super ballsy to just do that.
I did not experience that at all, man. Yeah. I was freaking... Those things would hit me, especially on the first time you see them. It's the shots come in from out of screen. Right, so you just if you're just going through, it's what just happened?
Holy shit, right, yeah.
But I hate those things, man. I felt again, the batarang was great for that. But at the same time, I would notice definitely a cheat, definitely a trick. What are we calling this? Where if I stayed kind of farther back at the edge of the screen a little bit and walk forward a little bit, sometimes they would just disappear.
You might glitch them off, yeah.
I was just like, oh, get rid of those fucking things.
That's you know,
that's a
like,
cheese, and I
don't no. Like what I'm gonna say, what I was gonna say is, you know, you are not Batman. I don't ever, even as a child, I was never so immersed in these games where I'm appreciative of efforts to immerse me, but I'm never not the Nintendo player with the accumulated life experience of Nintendo playing this game. I'm never not that, even as a child. So what me using my accumulated knowledge of this workspace, this environment that I am engaging this computer code in, like that's not like if I'm smart enough to know those things and use them, like that's good on me. You know, that's not that to me. That's not a cheese. That's the benefit of being an experienced Nintendo player that you should have the advantage of. That is you know, that is not a skill set that you should just not use. Like Josh Allen, just because he's a cheat code at running doesn't mean we don't include that in his accomplishments. Like, you know, like, fuck you. Like, he's good at that. Like that, he worked at that his whole life to get good at that. Fuck you. You know, that's part of who he is. So yeah, no, don't call that cheese. That's good Nintendo play.
Definitely use that because they were piecing me up, and I was like, if I could just make this dude disappear, great. Moving on.
Yeah, dude. I played this game all my life. I've never tried to do that on them. It never occurred to me to try to do that. So great job. Yeah. So you pan back and forth a few levels, working your way up the cavern, and then you get to this narrow cliff pipe shaft deal that's populated by heat waves and exhaust fans on the pipe. And this is, again, like they, you know, talking about that teaching moment in the stage prior of working your way up that shaft. This is where, you know, the stuff's not sticking out from the pipe, but the spacing on the exhaust fans that you have to avoid or take damage from is just essentially, I mean, it's not random. It's fucking, they're in the same place at all times, but the spacing on them essentially based on the scaling of Batman's wall jump is completely random. So you have to absolutely get good at like letting yourself fall, latching onto the thing, and like the platform sticking out there are platforms sticking out at times that you got to work your way around too, and like you can hit your head on, or you know like whatever, not only have a moment to latch onto, and then you have to get over if you want to latch onto the pipe below them, and there may be an exhaust fan there. So yeah, this is I safe skill my ass off through that part essentially, I guess is what I'm saying, because yeah, that's a super tough little stretch there, even though the heat waves are obviously cake enemies. So once you get up to the top of that little climb, there you work your way back to the left, and there's a single EEV, and then you're at the boss battle door. And stage 3-4 is a cavern-themed arena with a couple platforms up above that you can use to avoid the fray if so desired. Though I don't think it really gets you out of the shit, so they're not really worth it, I don't think. And your adversary here is the Electrocutioner, and the main description for him is this boss is This boss is a self-electrogenic man, the strongest warrior on Earth, who is capable of transmitting a moon attacker, a 10 megagiga volt killer beam, out of his arm. And that, kids, is the most insane English sentence ever written.
What? Giga? What?
Right, yeah.
I'm like, did you misspeak there? What was that?
Yeah, no, that's verbatim. Creative, though, so good job, but it's an insane sentence. And it's very comic booky, though, too, you know. Yeah. A sprite roughly twice the size of Batman, and he jumps back and forth and tosses out a large moon-shaped projectile that's way too tall to hurdle. And what was your strategy with this dude, Jay?
So I died several times. Because his moon-shaped thing is so big. You know, I tried to jump over it. I tried clearly to jump across the wall, or, you know, wall jump over the top. He was still hitting me. I'm like, man, what the heck? And like, I feel like I stumbled on the way to beat him by accident, just trying stuff and just, you know, dying every time. And so one time I jumped across the other side, you know, and he was still facing the other direction, and I used the spear gun and like stunned him, but he kept facing the other direction. So I just kept shooting him, and like as long as I kept the same pace, he stayed the other direction.
I'm watching the playthrough video. I'm watching. They got him to do that, and that is.
I don't know how it happened, but I was like, he keeps facing. But like I messed up the pacing, and he turned back around and fought me, and I died. So I tried it again, And like if I try to shoot too many times, he like turns and goes after me. But if I like keep like a 2-shot pacing,
Okay.
he stays that direction.
So,
I don't know why.
What was the action again? They got him to that made him do it.
So I jumped over him. You know how he does the jump across the room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wall jumped over the platforms to jump over his head. And so he's still going at me where I was and does his slice thing facing where I was. So I'm hitting him in the back and he just keeps getting zapped and keeps trying to fight where I was. So I'm hitting him in the back and it's like it's stunning.
So
him.
is he in your situation, is he positioned on the left side of the screen or the right?
He's now on the left side of the screen facing the edge of the screen.
Okay, because in the playthrough video he has him doing this on the right side of the screen. So yeah, whatever, I guess that works either direction, which is cool. You know, that it's not just like a fucked up code glitch on the right or something, you know.
Yeah.
So that's an actual thing in his behavior that is predictable. So
I took that as like, hey, you can hit him in the back, like that's his vulnerability. Because I'm like, the fact that I could do this multiple times, trying it, because I came there, I think I first came there with maybe like two bits of health, so I was like, yeah, I might have to like save some and go back.
This is not going to work out.
Right. Yeah. But like the fact that I could come back and reliably, like, okay, like once I got the cadence down, like this keeps happening, so it's got to be his vulnerability. Hit him in the back. Otherwise, I don't know how you beat him. Or I guess I should ask, how did you beat him, Josh?
Yeah, I didn't figure that out, so for me it was just hard. The best I could come up with was just taking the lumps in the middle of the arena and just spamming the fuck out of him with batarangs. And I tried to get up to the platforms thing, but I could not find an efficient way of attacking him that didn't leave me exposed to him clipping me for the jumps. So like I determined those platforms to be useless, you know. So
he still clipped me. They didn't seem like they were the solution to anything until I stunned him in the back, and I was like, oh, maybe that's what I needed.
I'm surprised that he moves so slowly that you have an opportunity. Like I'm trying to envision that battle, and to me, I don't have time to get down and behind him and actually shoot him, especially with that's the slowest.
Well, he would hit me and get there. And you would think he would turn around and face me because I'm now on the other side. But like somehow, like when he gets there, he still does his move facing the other direction.
Okay, so he does another attack, and that gives you the time. Okay, copy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like it should work, but it worked.
Word. Again, fucking figure out the fucking glitch in the Matrix. That's half the battle. Well. So the cutscene after this dude is just another Joker, still shot with some copy. It's the Joker look from the art gallery scenes, the poofy hat and whatnot, and he says, "Welcome, Batman. Why don't you look at my latest work of art?" After these messages,
we'll be right back.
The adventure continues. Now with Batman, the Serial. And nothing can slow him down. Nothing can stop him from bringing it to you. It's here. A smashing taste. A honey nut flavored part of your complete breakfast. Batman Cereal.
That is a Batman the Cereal commercial from 1989, as you might have gleaned from the audio. It doesn't look particularly good. My best guess, the cereal I'm saying, not the commercial. My best guess is it's a Captain Crunch knockoff, and what it most looks like in the grainy video anyways, that's what I would guess it is. You look like you are fucking disgusted with I'm saying this and you remember it. Did you have the cereal and you liked it?
Yeah, it was delicious. I'm not gonna sit up here and act like it was not delicious, like every other sugary cereal that I coveted as a child. Yeah.
Was it Captain Crunchy?
No, it wasn't, but it was like, there's got to be a cereal that I can think of. There was a lot of cereals that were based on like video games, like Super Mario Brothers cereal stuff that tasted like the same.
It was the same thing.
So if you had like Super Mario Brothers cereal, like it tastes like that.
Okay.
You know, like if you ever had that very, very still corn sugary cereal, you know, very similar. But it was delicious. I'm not going to hate. It was good.
Okay. I stand corrected. I don't recall it at all. I'm not even sure. It's the kind of thing where like, there's no way I didn't have that at some point, right? There's no way I made it, like, I'm not saying I went to the grocery store every time, but if I was in there one time, I'd have been like, at least once, like
we gotta try this one time.
We gotta peep this out for sure. But yeah, I don't remember ever having it. So we're moving now into the laboratory ruins, stage 4-1. And this is a cold industrial vibe in here, as this game goes, with a pink and gray color scheme. And the music here has a serious Castlevania vibe for me.
I could see that.
There are suspended animation tanks here and there because any movie laboratory has to have those. Or like the brains and fucking saline solution with bubbles floating up around them. And the beginning is just plain fucking hard of this. They combo jaders with drop claws and mines to make for ultra fucked juggling acts. Yeah.
That's the same. I feel like it's the same thing we've talked about before. It's like, how are we going to make this harder? We got them used to the jumping. We got them used to the enemies. Now we're just going to pile it all together and make you deal with everything at once.
We're going to drizzle this on.
Just put it all in a pot together and have you deal with it.
Yep. So after you come out of that, you get one of the more iconic images from the game, the background stretch of television screens with the Joker GIFs looping on them. And other than that, it's just more Batman the video game, I would say, this level.
Yeah.
So we move into stage 4-2, and this is a green, yellow, gray palette, less labby, more electrical wiring-ish. And the manual calls this the storage room, an almost empty warehouse with research engineering tools and equipment, energy conduits, and power driving motors. And those are just like words, just lots of words.
Right. just mechanical names.
Yeah, adjective, noun, verb, noun. Like, yeah.
You know what this tells me? This tells me if I ever decide to be a writer of anything, whether it be a story for a game, movie, book, like, I just gotta say words. If I don't know what it is, just make up stuff.
Oh, dude,
just throw a bunch of technical half terms together. We're good.
Yeah, it's right click thesaurus, just pick one randomly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's fucking. It's not like, I don't know. It is not heavily crafted. Fucking, it's not like they're not sitting around fucking really cooking up the most impactful word choice here. They're just like,
right.
Pick one.
Good enough. Let's roll.
So first up is a wall jump obstacle course across a floor of grinding gears, and that is my best guess of what the hazard is, anyhow. And you then have to work through some tunnels with the gears, limiting how high you can jump over the shit they put in your way. Again, just more Batman the video game. Not really a lot to talk about here, I don't think. And that gets us into stage 4-3. More laboratory ruins, and we are back to red-gray colors, and they tantalize you by putting a little exit sign visible across a gap you can't possibly get across right at the beginning of the stage. The fuckers that they are. And the manual calls this the thermal processing plant. And the stage starts with a long descent where they pair up gaps with alternating on-off electrical charges barricading them, and then drop claws in the areas as well. And it's like, because of the way Batman goes off the edges of things, and the way the electrical charges work, you have to actually jump in the holes to avoid damage. You can't just slide off. And like, even if you were to slide off, Batman's, the way he just walks off things, I guess because of the cape, or I don't know, like, because of that, like, falling motion not being, Mega Man fast, I guess.
Yeah, I was about to say, he's not having Mega Man slide.
Right. So because of that, the way you fall, you need to time your jump understanding the couple beats that are going to happen before you pass through where the barricade is, So like, it's just a heightened level of timing required of you that is really compounded difficulty-wise because of the dropping claws being in there too, and those are also so timing based, So like, it's just a lot for a human brain to comprehend or to process, I think, and it's tough.
I just hate any level where you're starting off and you're dropping down.
Yeah.
That is just the most like unnerving. Where it's like, all right, I'm going to lose some health, maybe die, just because I don't know if I should drop in the middle. Should I drop to the side? I don't know what the strategy or where I'm going here.
Well,
I always hate that.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot in Shinobi too. Again, another Shinobi comparison. Because I had those thoughts about blind falls too, and I thought of Shinobi when I was internally silently bitching about them. But it's like it goes. I think that, like, I think these are conscious decisions that are legitimately, like, because it's impossible. There's just no way you cannot. Because without saying, there's no map. There's no way to look down there. Like, it's just. It's literally a built-in, unavoidable difficulty, and that's always frustrating. If you don't have control over, and you can't get good, and that's the thing, though. The getting good at it is literally just the time spent dying. That's how you get good at it, and that,
So if you came here with like full health or something very strong, like that's what happened to me on the third level a lot, where the gears would be on either side. And first time through, I'm like, because they're not at the top, so I'm just jumping down a hole. And next thing you know, like, oh, there's gears over here. I'm like,
yeah.
You're just going to lose that health, and you're just going to have to go back and try again.
Yeah, it's frustrating, man. It's frustrating. And like, I don't have my rant about it till later, but we're playing with fucking save states. Can think about that on OG hardware? Like, pound your head into a brick wall. I did not get that's more appealing
on OG hardware. I did not get here.
On OG hardware, I could right? Yeah, probably not me either. Really, in hindsight, but yeah, fuck. Whoa. Yeah. So yeah, I took a bit of damage trying to work my way down. So I did a serious farm operation on the final drop claw at the bottom. So it's nice they put that there at least.
Yep.
And then there is some high risk platforming asked of you, spanning across a bunch of open flames, and the frequency that video game environments just have large scale open fires is remarkable if you think about it.
There's always a fire pit everywhere. Don't you know this? There's fire pits everywhere outside.
Yeah. I guess it harks back to the idea. It's like a carnal human fear fire, like this thing you need to survive, but it is very damaging if you handle it the wrong way. I get always tapping into that. That emotional little emotional nuggets that you can generate in these archaic expressions of art. Like, I get that, but it's just funny to me that they're always there. Yeah, you're not playing a video game in 1990 that's a side-scrolling platformer without a fire stage. This is not happening. So the sequence with the single Batman with conveyor belt platforms is a real bitch of an ask for someone with no save states too, speaking of that. And then it's heading up a long stairwell with tons of shit, EEVs, heat waves, RC cars, making it very difficult to work your way up to it. And kindly, they put another heart farming drop claw right at the top of that before the exit. So those are to me, those are developer acknowledgments that this stage is fucked up, man.
You're gonna need a little something here.
Yeah, you're not getting through. Even I don't give a shit how good you are. You're not getting through here unscathed. So, on one note, admirable of them. On another note, fuck you for making it that hard in the first place. So then we move into stage 4-4, and this is a boss battle, and this is with the dual container alarm. The manual description of this is: this boss controls dual container vehicles that can stop any intruder. In an emergency, he is programmed to trigger firebombs. And this is 2 boxes that move around in the same path around the room, including 3 columns that you can wall jump up to try and find a tactical place to deal with them from. So this was a moment. So yeah, I did get through this because this was something that I did remember from my childhood. But childhood muscle memory is fucking crazy, dude. Like I said, I didn't remember the stage 2 boss battle enough to remember every part of it. I remember some of it though, But this was a moment, dude, where I don't know, I can't explain it, dude. I haven't played. I didn't look at a single Nintendo Power or Google a fucking thing for this game for this playthrough up to this point, and I hadn't gotten this far in this game without a doubt for probably this entire century. This century, I have not played this video game to this point. And I just knew somewhere deep down inside of me to climb up to the top of that middle column. And that was where to position myself for this battle. I just fucking knew it, dude. It was like the second the screen came on, I was like, oop, gotta get there. And I don't know I don't have any explanation of where it came from. I just knew it. And it was, I don't know, man. It was fucking wild to me. I had to pause and just think about that for a second, and make these notes that I'm reading
way
down.
Back deep down. It's yep, that's where you go.
Yeah, right. Yeah, fucking crazy, man. Yeah. And the funny thing, I didn't know what to do once I was there. I just knew I had to be there. I didn't even. Yeah, nostalgia is a hell of a drug, man. Because I got there and I was like, okay, now what? I know I got to be here, but I have no idea what to do now.
That's crazy. Because to me, it looks like you go in there, and because they come in like that, it just kind of naturally seems like, all right, I guess I'm going to go to the middle and probably have to jump off. But then I just naturally ducked, and I was like, I'm okay right here. Can I keep it here for a while?
I mean, I guess that's part of it. Maybe you could say that you're in higher vantage point, leverage, instinctual, and then also middle. I have the most room to deal with whatever's going to happen. So one could make that argument that it is partly just a carnal inclination, based again on just however much video game playing that has accumulated in my life. But it felt to me familiar.
For you, yeah. For you, I get it. For me, not having ever been there, that's how I would, right. How I saw it.
So once you could just punch the things as they pass through up here, and that's another, like I mentioned, that's a critical part of strategy in this game with the boss battles. So if you were punching and it was flashing orange, it would not deal damage to you, and it's not. The thing about it is, it's not 100% reliable. Like, it works a lot.
I definitely got hit, yeah.
But it's not 100%, and that is tough, But you also have to avoid, so it does these fireballs, they periodically shoot out of their sides, and that was not avoidable from that spot at all times either. Even crouching, sometimes they would shoot in that level. But not in a way, though, that was like read and react. Like, they were not shooting at that level because you were there. It would just randomly happen that way sometimes, So that's a tough aspect of it, too, that it was not as predictable enough to really, I don't know, respond to, I guess. So you're basically just kamikazing them until one explodes and hoping you don't take too much damage while that happens. And then when the first one blows up, the second one goes into this berserker mode, kind of like the manual description mentioned, and flies down to the lower right corner and reveals a sensor or some shit in the middle of it, and then starts moving back and forth at the bottom of the screen, and it fires up projectiles that split up and spread across the screen at 3 different levels. And those are predictable. Those are constants. So what this incentivizes you to do, if you at all are perceiving what's happening, is you hopefully don't even want to go up there, even though it would be nice to not be in the place where the thing is moving back and forth, obviously. You know what I mean? So, I just stayed at the bottom and hammered it with batarangs, and it died just in the nick of time when I had one life bar left. When I finally did beat it, that was basically how
you had to, because if you stayed up there, like, I couldn't even get it from up there. So I had no choice but to go down.
Yeah.
And not die.
Yep. So the ensuing cinematic is all visual, no copy, which is fantastic, cinematic storytelling. The Batwing does a flyby on the cathedral tower in downtown Gotham, and then first in a close-up, like with the cathedral tower, and then a full city wide as the Batwing lands at the base of the tower. And
so cool.
Yeah, for sure. It would have been cooler and a lot less fucking work for he and I if he just ejected out of the Batwing as it flew by the tower, and just entered that way, but not the case. He flies all the way to the bottom and lands the fucking thing. And that gets you into Stage 5-1, the Cathedral. And the initial part of this is an orange-gray tint, bit of a green accent going on. And they start you off in here with some clock tower gear hopping, then onto working your way up platforms that are all populated by shit you have to find a way to frag before jumping up onto them. And that leads to a straight-up narrow tower with lots of gears to avoid and a bunch more of that like occupied platforming dance, so not easy. And a bunch of those occupants are javelins, and the second of these is after a long wall jump climb. And without save states, this is a break your Nintendo sequence, dude.
This is when I was like, I'm not having fun. I'm not. I don't even care. Like, just whatever.
Yeah, very rough. So in the same area, you have these little gaps between the blocks where there's a gear overhead. So you have to fall into the gap and wall jump off the block you were standing on, below which is another gear, of course, and short hop to the next block without hitting the overhead gear. And this is just hyper bullshit. Super tough. And I say scum my fucking ass off all the way through here, even the very first time. And the second time, which we'll discuss later, which was even worse. But you had like those little things. I mean, it would take me to get those right. Those little things where you have to fall down and jump across the gear with a wall jump. Like, it would take me fucking 5 to 10 times every time to get those right. Like, to do those reliably all the way up that on OG hardware, like, get the fuck out of here. Like, get the fuck out of here. I don't know. And again, there is always that fucking psychopath speedrunner that, like, somehow can fucking do that. But, I mean, how can you? You're not programming for that person. Fuck you, You're programming for fucking 9-year-olds, so fuck you. Like, just fuck you. Yeah. Really
I don't know. Maybe, I feel like this game made me reevaluate my relationship with, like, retro gaming. 'Cause, like, even knowing that this is rated one of the hardest NES games out there, towards the end of the NES generation before they came out with the Super Nintendo. Like, I get it. But I feel like nowadays when I play a game, when you have like a run up to the final boss or something, there's a lot that can happen and it can be difficult, but a lot of it is just like build up to the final boss and like getting you there, and then the boss is like the battle. Like that's where you gotta like, you know, crazy stuff's gonna happen. It's gonna be unique and different. I feel like playing this level was like, I don't know, man. It was almost just like, instead of,
it's an attrition effort. Yeah, man. It's like
yeah, just like we're gonna not even let you get to the boss. Sorry.
It's like that Final Fantasy thing we talked about. Like, you know, the difficulty in those fucking element dungeons it's about, the battles are hard too, but it's about how close to just out of the end can you keep your guys on the way there, you know, and that is very much what that's about. And this, yeah, I feel like this 5-1, especially because, you know, when you continue, you have to start back at the fucking at the beginning of 5-1 here. So yeah, it is a unified presentation of difficulty. You know what I mean? That attrition that happens getting up that clock tower to what is a fucking boss rush, no less, is an intended combined difficulty, you know, and that is, I think that is very deliberate. So yeah, it's fucking, that's why they say what they say, because it's fucking woo woo very difficult. So when you get up to the top of that tower, it is boss rush time in stage 5-2, and I like that they bother to differentiate the stages. Like Joker is 5-3, Firebug is 5-2, you know, so
that's quality.
The manual description of Firebug is: the Joker's most trusted bodyguard wants revenge on Batman for personal reasons. Batman defeated his brother, so Firebug will stop at nothing to kill Batman. He can emit 600 million degrees Celsius fireballs that will instantly dissolve anything into atomic pieces. He is definitely Batman's most powerful enemy besides the Joker. And this is another somewhat obscure pull from the DC Comics Batman universe. He first appeared in December 1979, and his origin story is not what's provided in the manual. His family died in 3 separate building-related accidents that had nothing to do with Batman. A terrible run of luck, by the way, to have that happen. 3 building-related accidents happen to your family and kill them is a really, really bad. Way worse than the Bills losing to the Chiefs.
Sleeping outside, man.
Yeah. And so he lost his sanity as a result of this terribly inopportune set of occurrences, or series of occurrences. And being a former demolitions expert soldier, he vowed that those 3 buildings would not kill again, and adopted the Firebug identity to take them out with napalm. And Batman saw to it he failed, obviously. And this is where I'd like to mention how fucking annoying it is. The game resets your weapon selection to punch every time you change stages. This sucks. It sucks. I want to get into the moment, or into this battle, and be bataranging the moment I get in there. So I want it to change, or I want to change it before I leave stage 5-1. And I can't. So fuck you, Sunsoft.
I did notice that, where I would like try to get ready, and I'd get to the stage, and like, I thought I had it preset. And it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it doesn't carry over. No. Anyhow, other than that, really, I mean, this dude ain't too bad, I would say. Like, his large fireballs can be fairly reliably jumped, so that's good. That's not like the Electrocutioner, where it looks like you're fucked with this projectile, you know? So that's good. And he stays within range of your battering attack most of the time, so it's, you know, kind of just a matter of skill. And I mean, all that stated, I had insufficient skill. So I got pissed off and Googled some help, and I found a vid where the player was able to sort of stun lock him on the right side of the screen and dust in. Like, I was able to beat him a couple times just fucking around, but you're so depleted ammo and health-wise getting into the Joker that it's like, this isn't going to work. So I was like, there's got to be a more dependable and less fucking depleting way to beat this guy. So that's what led me to the fucking Googling. So there's a way to stun lock him on the right side of the screen and dust him pretty quickly with batarangs. The pillars in the background there are somewhat kind of the markers for where to stand, and bataranging quickly from the middle one to get him back into the corner, and then advance to the outer half of the rightmost pillar. If you can get it pixel perfect, he'll do a jump back and forth right onto you, but because you're tagging him with the batarangs, it doesn't hurt you or fuck up your flow, you know, and he'll jump back before he stops flashing and you never take any damage, and you can stay there and fucking just kill his ass, So that is how I was eventually able to beat him in a way that allowed me to even have a hope against the Joker. But I died plenty of times. Did you? Did you even beat him?
I did not get there. I did not get there.
Okay.
I stopped before that, and I was just like, oh, I got it. So it's one of those things where I actually do fully intend to come back and finish it, but I was just so annoyed and frustrated. I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to be held to the recording schedule of this podcast to beat this freaking stupid game. I will come back when I'm able to calm down. But yeah.
Even though we haven't recorded in over a month.
No excuses. I fully put it out there. There's no excuses there. This game is frustrating and fun at the same time. And yeah, on 5-1, I was ready to smash my NES controller. Because I'm not trying to save state every 5 seconds, and it's just like, and I would do something well. I get to, a good part, but because I wouldn't save state right then and there, I would get fucked up, and then I'd have to start, and I was just so
honestly, even, I wouldn't, and we'll get to how my flow went, but I'm saying save's coming every 5 seconds, and if I'm not picture perfect at the end of that run, I'm not, I'm just loading and going back.
I think part of me is wanting to preserve as pure of a playthrough as I possibly can. You know what I mean?
It's hella Valiant, Jay, but this is not the game. This is not the one.
Yeah, it's clearly not the game.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll get to it in the King Lord's Blessing, but it's not the game. And so but at the same time, I do want to come back and still finish it, though. At my leisure when I feel like I'm in the mood to put myself through this pain again.
Fair. Yeah, based on our conversations about it the past few days, I am surprised to hear you were in 5-1. So that's
because you know how it is. I get angry and then I'm like, oh, I'm not playing this, and then 30 minutes later, I'm like, all right, I got to get focused, and then I'll break through and get a little farther. So yeah. I definitely stopped before that when we were texting. I was definitely stopping before that.
Yeah. It's funny. It is funny how people say it about everything, and it's so applicable. But you can talk yourself out of it in the moment for sure when you're pissed off. But it is amazing how helpful it can be to just literally just walk away and pick it up with a clean fucking frame of mind, and you'll find a little nuance. You're like, oh fuck, that's the answer. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you kill Firebug, and then you move into stage 5-3, even though you're in the exact same place, and it's Joker time, and he has a big pistol he pops off single rounds from, and they have a pretty sizable height to them, but they are also jumpable. And he'll customarily pop off a couple of these in a row before moving to the lightning attack, and that is a 3-bolt thing that rains down from above in an equally spaced fashion that is predictable enough, both in where he he always goes to the same spot on either side of the screen to do it, so you always know where they're coming, and you can, if you are able to not be frantic enough or too frantic to have your shit together, you can go to the spot that they're not going to hit and be safe, and that's critical because those are obviously otherwise really fucked up attacks. And so the trick is you have to hop a couple of those pistol rounds to start the thing, and then get in close with your batarang and just light his ass up with it. It's if you fucking if you know that, and you can keep your shit together. He's pretty fucking easy, but it's really hard to keep your shit together with him. Yeah. So if you can keep yourself in close enough to his sprite, your face just past, again, by a pixel or two, the end of his gun when it's extended out, you're fairly, again, I would never want to say 100% with any fucking Nintendo game, but you're pretty predictably safe from his projectile attack. And that is, without a doubt, the harder of his two mechanics. So you can fucking get in there and just be bataranging him and really tag his ass while he's doing that. And, it's even again, in a development acknowledgement of his range of the things you have to do to attack him and his responses to it. He'll do little tiny steps back when you're in that close. Not full ones, just enough to be able to hit, So you have to account for those too, but you can make it happen. And like if you're continuously hammering him with the batarangs from that safe spot inside his gun and you keep accounting for his steps, he'll eventually get fed up and try to run to the other side of the screen. And as long as you have, this is another instance where as long as you have him flashing from the batarangs, this run through does not hurt you, thankfully. So, again, like a part of it you can predictably deal with and like account for and strategize with. So yeah, he runs to the other side and then he'll usually do, I can't recall if he will fire off or just do a lightning attack right away. I can't recall, but he'll run over and then, it's a little bit of a rinse and repeat scenario basically. And there's not a ton of variance to his behavior outside of that. So again, like, he's not jumping around or any fucking crazy shit. Like he's pretty static, relatively speaking, by boss standards, especially in this game. So the first time I try this, I come into it, like I mentioned, like I'm pretty depleted coming out of Firebug with 17 ammo points left, right? And I'm, save state.
Can't even win. Can you even win with that?
No. Short answer, no. Long answer, here we go. There is no fucking way you can beat this prick with that amount of ammo. Your punch just cannot get it done with him, right? So all the videos I Googled were pretty clear and obvious in depicting batarang or bust. So like I'm save stated here and like I actually streamed both of my attempts on Joker. So the first one, it's only like 6 minutes long. Like you can see me, I'm just like, I died. I mean, and dude, I took, I don't know, at least a dozen cracks at it, I would guess. And yeah, it was just like painfully obvious this is not happening. So I was just like, fuck this, I'm done, fuck this, And yeah, that's when I considered not finishing the game. I was like, fuck it, I'm not going back and getting more ammo. I'm not going through that fucking 5-1 again. 5-1 is fucked. I'm not doing that again. And then also have to beat Firebug with enough left to get in here. I was really close to just being like, I don't need to beat the Joker. I don't need to do this. I don't need to. It's not fucking enough. Shit, the fucking Bills are playing the Chiefs in a few minutes. Like I'm not fucking, or in like 36 hours. I'm not doing this. So yeah, I got up and walked away from it, and those videos, of course, will be on the Facebook page, and the links to them will be in the show notes. And I don't know. I spent, might have been a full 24 hours. I don't know, but because I have issues, I decided to I was like, well, I'll turn it on and I'll see what my other save states were. Like I'll just see if there's one in a place where I'm like, okay, I can go back to that and not jump off the roof. And sure enough, there was one right at the base of the clock tower. And I had all but 3 life units remaining and 88 ammo. So I was like, okay, you fucking prick. Like, I'll go again from here and just save scum my ass off up to the top in good shape for the final boss rush, right? My more ammo conservative rerun wasn't honestly really that bad. Like, once I got into it, it took maybe 10 minutes of save scumming to get to the top of it, and I dusted Firebug off in maybe 2 or 3 tries. Nice. With that tactic that I had already gleaned, and I was back at Joker with 66 ammo. And I think I had 2 life left, but I had a life left, so I could, die.
Okay.
And
nice.
And that's, we haven't said that actually. So yeah, I mean, that's, the first Joker thing is when I really learned. You can see it in the video. I'm like, what? I don't, like, when I died, you don't go back to 99 ammo. You have the same amount of ammo that you had before you died. So I was like, in my mind, that wasn't how it worked, And like, when I got in there with 17 ammo, I was like, that's fine, because once I have a life left and I can die and then, use that. Oh. And yeah, I got in there, and like you see in the video where like I make that realization, I'm like, what the I said to myself that, if 66 ammo was insufficient, I really was done. Like, I'm just walking away. If that's not enough, if getting there with 66 ammo is not enough to beat the Joker, then fuck it. I'm done with this game. And away we go. Enough ammo makes it relatively easy, I guess I would say. Like, it took me maybe another half dozen whacks at it to dust his ass off once I had the proper ammo. And, and like, part of it's more ammo, but also part of it is experience with having went through them a bunch of times and like knowing the tendencies and kind of knowing what to do. Right. So I did fucking beat his ass. And when he dies, he does it's not exactly what we just talked about for like the head flying back fighting game death. It's not quite like that. He does like this, like a very dramatic slumping to the ground. And it's like a super, it goes into slow-mo. Like, he like slumps forward and you can kind of see the top of his head, and he like slowly goes to the ground. So it's like, again, like a cinematic slow-mo effort, And then once he's on the ground, he does the thing where he tries to get up once and only gets a little bit off the ground and then slumps back down and he's down for good, right? And then after that, and this is, oh, dude, it's so again, you can see it in the video, like and this is how I knew, dude. Like, but like he does a, when he dies like that, if you don't move, it'll never go to the cutscene. It'll stay on that screen as long as you want to stay there. So,
really?
Yeah, you have to walk up to him, and that initiates the cutscene. You have to control your sprite and walk up to him, which is, it's like such a small thing, dude. But holy fuck, like you see it in the video. I'm just like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, do I got to walk up to? Oh my god! So it's like such a small, like meaningless thing. It should be, but it was so impactful. It was so good and so cool. So yeah, you have to walk up to him, and then it cuts to the cutscene, and yeah, that is when I knew that I hadn't beat this game. That there's just no way. Like I just had forgotten it or something, because I had no idea it was going to do that. And that is not something you could ever forget. There's just no way. There's just no fucking way you could ever forget that you had to walk up to him manually, So, yeah, I'd never fucking done it. And then you can see the cutscene. It's like a really dramatic, beautiful still image card. Or it starts with one of those, and it's first Batman with the Joker yoked up at the edge of the Cathedral Tower balcony, and that's what's behind me right now. And then he says, "I know you murdered my parents. Now you will dance with the devil in the pale moonlight." And I don't remember him saying that back to him in the movie. Maybe
this has got to be this is a game only thing. He never said, "Now you'll dance with the devil."
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, I don't
never
remember
said
that. So that's some serious creative license on Sunsoft's behalf, if that's not the case. And I don't know. I just watched the movie. Maybe I napped through that part or fell asleep or something, but.
No.
I don't
No, Joker says it, Batman does not.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's how I felt, but, whatever. Anyway, so he says that, and then we get one intermediary card of Batman throwing him off the edge. So, again, it's a still shot, but he's it's the moment after he's left Batman's hands, and he's, like, kind of back-arched like that falling boss thing that we talked about, actually.
Dude, that is amazing.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
He yeets him off the side, and he's like,
yeah.
That is so cool. First of all, we got to talk about this. First of all, the fact that Batman essentially kills him, I think, is super cool, because many people would debate, like, hence my whole Injustice 2 rant, like,
right.
Batman's like, no, we're not going to kill him. I love that he just
right.
tosses him off the edge here.
Yeah.
And that they show him, like, fall, like, the cinematic where he's falling. I just love that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Watching him slowly die is great.
Yeah, so it cuts from the still card of him going over to we're back to that wide of the whole city that we saw when the Batwing flew in, and you just see like Joker's little purple blotch falling all the fucking way to the street below. And that happens, and then the music cue changes to a much slower dramatic tune, or rather it changes to a slower dramatic tune as he falls. And then we get more still cards of the Joker motionless on the pavement, each one closer and closer to his face. And, I mean, by NES standards, it's gruesome shit, I think. Like, he's not, like, splattered or anything, but, like...
But he's clearly laying there dead. Like,
right,
it's clear.
Yeah. And they do, like I said, like a slow zoom of, like, you start with one, like, as an aerial above him, where you can kind of see the street light casting down at him, almost from the perspective of the street light, and then, or a little above it anyways. And then you cut to, like... a closer of him, his whole body on the pavement, and then like a really close up of just his face, laying there dead. And yeah, I mean, it's intense for NES shit. So the credit sequence is pretty boring, image depraved, but the end card is a really great looking Batman logo that it never cuts away from, and it's all very impressive. It's fucking beautiful in every possible way. All the imagery there. And yeah, I mean, the whole sequence, I posted the slideshow basically on the Facebook page, so you can check it out if you're not want to you can fucking deal with this game yourself. And it's just incredible pixel art. It looks so fucking good.
that is the Stage 4 Part 2 theme, bringing us into favorite little section here, a little thing called the verdict. King Lorik's blessing, whether or not it shall be bestowed.
I mean, fuck, man. Like, even with all the fucked up difficulty at the end, it's a masterpiece, dude. It's an NES masterpiece. It is. It might be the apex on the system. Like,
Wow.
As far, there's other fun games and you get into a lot of subjectivity, but I mean from a technical accomplishment perspective. And part of doing this timeline is the idea that we're going to encounter things maybe that, especially late in the cycle, the NES cycle, that we had moved off on other systems and maybe didn't play. And who knows what happens in there. I know some of the late stage games are really revered. Kirby's and shit like that are like really whatever, but I think it might be the most impressive development job on the system that ever happens. So that I feel relatively confident that we're going to make it through off the NES entirely, and I'm still going to feel that way. So, yeah, I mean, the graphics are unreal, the music unreal, controls unreal, cutscene cinematics unreal, pixel art of the actual actors portraying the actors in those cutscenes unreal, general embodiment of the underlying IP in an NES technical context unreal, in-game reward and satisfaction unreal. Like, it's everything about it. Other than, like, this is fucking hard, assholes. Like, that's it. That's the only thing that I think someone could even try to suggest is not commendable about it.
Yep. I mean, would I recommend it to someone else? Yeah. Would I consider playing it again in like a remastered version or something like that, like on a Xbox? Like, yeah, like remastered. I'll play it again. Why not? Like, it's. Yeah, what else can I say that hasn't already been said? Graphics, the tracks. Like, I was listening to the tracks regularly, over and over. Like,
right, yeah.
Like even the cutscene track, I originally had that as one. I was like, this cutscene music is fantastic. Yeah, everything about it, solid. Controls, which we can make or break a game, especially during this era. I mean, great. So, yeah, as hard as it is, still worth it. Still worth a play. Definitely gets the blessing, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea, like the remastering idea, like because of what I just said, like other than nerfing it and making it easier, and is that really an improvement? I guess it's new and it's better looking, so
right.
Maybe it is better, but like I struggle, at least if you at all have an appreciation of this of retro gaming and the NES, like what could be accomplished in that system. If you have an appreciation of that, like, is it possible for remastering to be better?
Like, unless you legit make this so graphically advanced that it looks like the movie, and you're like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, unless you're using current generation software to make it look like the movie, that's one of the best things about this, is the fact that it straight up looks like the movie already on 8-bit software. That's the brilliance of it. So yeah, it's one of those things where that's just one of the things I always ask, like, hey, because we've seen remasters of Strider and stuff. I'm like, fuck that, man. I'm not. We've seen them for like Alex Kidd and stuff like that, where it's like, all right, I might play that one. Like, this is great as it is. Like, so I would say, yeah, just in general, of course, if you had one, I'd check it out. But I mean, it stands on its own.
Yep. Amen. Double blessing on that. Not the most surprising thing, I suppose, but got to go through the process anyways. I trust the process. So next up, we are on to Nintendo Power 14, issue 14, and you can subscribe to the pod on the platform provided whatever dumbass company that serves up your pottery. Please rate and leave positive shit for the pod on that podcast platform of choice, or any other for that matter. The website is nyehentertainment.com /ISOH pod. You can email us directly at isohpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the pod on Facebook and or Instagram. There is a link to the YouTube gameplay videos playlist on the show notes, or in the show notes. There's the ISOH subreddit if you want to get down on this on Reddit. We don't have a Patreon, but if you like giving money to things podcasters tell you to and would like to do so in our direction, the Able Gamers Foundation creates custom gaming rigs for gamers with disabilities. That is cool as fuck. AbleGamers.org is where you can find them. T-shirts are on the website. They're dope, and proceeds on those after pod expenses go to Able Gamers. We're rocking them right now, of course, or 2 of them anyways. And Jay, what are your socials?
Gentleman JB without the second E. That's my gamer tag. That's pretty much where you can find me across all the systems. So shout me out.
My Twitter is @JoshFolan. My Instagram is myshiftKey is broke rather. And now the Bill season is over, there'll be less Buffalo Bill stuff on there. So, so maybe if that matters to your decision making on that, jumping on board and follow me on those. And then my Oculus game tag is also myshiftKey is broke. If you want to hunt me down on there and get wasted in putt. Okay, bye.
Bye.